We are almost live, and we are live. Hello, everyone out there. How is everybody doing tonight? Let me make sure everybody can hear us out in the chat. Where did that go? All right, here we go. All right, here we go. We are live. Hello. Let me see who's in the chat already. DJ Donley, Joe Bob Tarhill, Johnny Dean, Josh O'Brien, BBQ Network. BBQ Network says he's already sent us some questions. Shalom. Borderline 11, what's up? How's everybody doing tonight? Piz, did you receive the questions via Twitter? I did not, but I'm pretty sure that we've got them. Or we've got most of them. So, but yeah, welcome to episode 11 of season 8 of the Sausage Factory. Tonight we're going to do a kind of a viewer Q&A, and on top of that, we'll be doing. We've got some topics to discuss tonight too along the way. So, but I am your moderator, Piz Allen. Joining me at the moment, we are expecting a couple of more folks to be joining us here shortly. But also joining me tonight, I have got Stone Gaspin. What's up, Stone?
Good evening, everybody. Good evening. I'm up here chilling in New York, having fun, and ready to have a fun sausage factory tonight.
Absolutely.
Hope you're all doing well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, indeed. I got my dry grape ginger ale. I'm enjoying some of that. And also, I bought some new movies that I'll be ready to share a little bit later, whenever ready to do that. So, yeah.
All right, cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Also joining me tonight is Lorne. What's going on, Lorne?
You know, some days you walk into a convenience store and you avoid all the people that have been there for a few hours buying drugs off of the cashier. And you just head back to the cooler and you look there and you see something new, something you've been waiting for, something that's going to make your life infinitely better until they pull it off the shelves in a couple weeks for health reasons. So tonight, I'm very happy to say I have Coca-Cola Energy. I've not tried it yet. I'm going to try it on the air. Coca-Cola Energy. So this is this is actually the Coke Zero Energy. So it has no calories and enough caffeine to kill small animals.
Wow.
Oh.
So I'm excited about this, as I love caffeine but don't like warm drinks in general. So this is an exciting moment. This might transform or end my life. I'm very excited. As a backup, in case I hate it, I do have the Coke Zero Vanilla, just as a backup. But most likely, I'm going to end up pounding both of them.
So. Wow, jeez. I actually saw that Cherry Coke was trending on Twitter today, which got me very excited and very thirsty too.
Yeah, there is a cherry version of this. There's a regular Coke, the zero sugar, a regular cherry, and a zero cherry, all with the energy added. So guarana, B vitamins, caffeine, lethal dose. No, well, it's not important.
Very interesting. Yes. My favorite, I've mentioned it on the show before, but my favorite drink to get in if you go to a really nice restaurant that's got a bar, is to get a Coke and tell them to put grenadine in it. And you'll know it's a really good cherry Coke if the first drink you take makes your mouth go completely dry. That's how you know it's a really good cherry Coke. So we've got a couple of people who have joined us tonight. Making his first appearance in quite some time is Mr. McNutt. Mr. McNugget, you've lost some weight, haven't you?
Yeah, I'm not going to say unintentionally, but I get that a lot. I went after I was on a slippery slope, so I dialed back some of the extra eating I was doing, and I guess it's a good problem to have, but I really didn't intend to go this far with it, to be honest with you.
Well, hey, I'm sure
Humble brag.
you're definitely not drinking any Cokes laced with tons of sugar then.
That's one thing I still have. Actually, Lauren was talking about the Coke Zero there. I'm going to try that because that Coke Zero is my drink of choice. But yeah, I've been sticking to coffee, tea, a lot of water, but I do get a Coke Zero now and again.
As you should.
It's good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is, by the way, it has almost a black cherry flavor mixed in with Coke, a little bit of lime, which lime is my added flavor of choice. It doesn't taste really that much like an energy drink, though.
Nice.
I like it. Probably too expensive for what it is.
Raul Magnifico was here for a moment. Maybe he's having some technical issues. We'll come back around to Raul. But how have you been, Andrew? It's been a little while since we've seen you.
It has. I've been okay. It's been one of those trying. I'm not going to say beginnings. We're halfway through it now, but this one of the most trying school years I've ever had in the preschool / Head Start business. But they happen like that sometimes. As a matter of fact, I know Raiho's been in and out with the microphone. My house is kind of a live wire with a kid right now, so if I go quiet on you, that's the reason why. But I'm not gone.
Oh, cool. Well, it's good to see you again. Like I said, it's been a while, and we kind of consider you like the fifth Beatle around here.
I appreciate that. Like Pete Best.
Sure.
Okay, I can handle that.
See, Stingray's joined us too. Stingray, are you there? Okay, I guess he's. Oh, there's Raiho. Are you with us, my friend?
I am now. Sorry.
Oh, how's it going, man?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Doing good, man. Doing good. How's everything up in Canada?
Going all right now. Weather's been okay and a little cold. Other than that, not so bad.
Very cool. Very cool. Is that a Superman like pillow behind you?
It's like a blanket.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Just kind of, I don't know. My sister-in-law gave it to me a couple years ago. Threw it in the kitchen.
Very nice. Very nice. I like it. Also, we've had a request for a Jaws 4 live commentary in the chat, and I second that.
I'd be down.
I second that.
Okay, I'm in.
I'm always good with roaring sharks. That's it.
Yes.
As long as it's not Jaws 3, but Jaws 4, I'm down for.
I'm down for 3 either.
Oh no.
What are we drinking? What are we drinking tonight, there, Raiho?
This one is Purple Grain, like Purple Rain.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, it's an IPA. I haven't had it before, so I can't speak to it yet. Here we go. Taste test live. It's delicious. Yeah, it's really good. Purple
Very
Grain.
cool.
It's got a citrusy kind of flavor.
Very cool.
And you can't beat that name.
Yes, very cool. Let's see what's going on out in the chat tonight. We got a lively chat going on already. Movie Man 95, what's up? How you doing tonight, buddy? Crystal Lake Counselor 1977, our old buddy Chris is with us tonight. How are you? The White Trash Jedi. How you doing tonight, sir? Hope you're doing well. RJ Skorinki says, please tell me how Coca-Cola Energy is. I'm dying to try it.
Well,
I
like it.
We just got the Diet Coke Extra. Do you guys have that?
No, you're sending it to me, right?
Yeah, I'll have to send it to you. I haven't had a chance to get it yet, but it's I think it's flavored. It might be vanilla, but it's called like Diet Coke Extra, and it's got extra caffeine in it, I guess is the buy-in.
You need to send that to me.
I got a few. I think I have a few I need to send you at this point. I'm pretty sure there's a couple. Yeah.
We'll work out some kind of international trade.
Yeah, I think the stevia Coke too. I think McNutt, you wanted that one too.
Yeah, I can't find that anywhere. I've looked everywhere. The Life is not like doing it for me, but I want to try the full stevia Coke. That looks pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty similar, but just slightly sweeter, I'd say.
Wherever you find, what part of the country are you in, Lauren? Not specific address, obviously, but I can't find that what you've got anywhere either.
So today's the first I've found it. So I'm in Jersey.
Okay, I'm in Ohio, so I don't know if it was just not hit here yet.
It's a different distributor. You're far enough away, but it's got to be soon because it is a national push. But I think it is convenience as a window for like 3 months. So hit your Wawas and your Quick Checks and whatever you have out there.
Okay. Yeah, I'll give it a look because I heard about it, but I thought maybe it was one of those every once in a while. Like it seems like Raiho, you guys get all kinds of cool beverages, and down here we've got like nothing.
From our perspective, it would be the other way, right? But we get really weird ones. Like there's a 7-Up. We have a 7-Up brand here called what's it called? Anyway, it's basically just lemonade, like sparkling lemonade, and it has all these funky flavors like mint cucumber and like. Ooh. Weird stuff like that. It's actually really good. I think they shoot at this like healthier market I find here, so it's always like like zero sugar products and things like that. But we didn't get Mountain Dew zero sugar as far as I can tell. So
I did try that, and that is a little bit on the only way I know how to put it is the Windexy side.
Oh, that's always a good endorsement.
Does anyone on the panel have Diet RC available in their market? Not Diet Right, Diet RC. It exists. It's a separate product.
I'm pretty sure I've seen it.
We don't have RC at all here anymore. We stopped getting RC like 10 years ago. Yeah.
You need to riot or something.
Yeah, I don't know why. Because it was always at every store you went to, you could always get RC. But we never did get their Diet Right that I know of, because like that's their famous, you know what I mean? Their diet soda was such a big deal. I don't know if we ever got that, but
Diet Right's all right, but you can't have it all the time. But they have a Diet RC. They did have a RC10 a couple years ago, probably 6 years ago now, and that was excellent, like beyond excellent. But that's been discontinued everywhere. And the mother load, of course, was back in the 90s when RC had their Royal Crown Draft, which was the best soda ever made. The cans, the empty cans on eBay go for like ridiculous amounts because just legendary.
Well, I'll tell you, there's nothing finer than an RC Cola and a moon pie.
There you go.
Nothing finer.
Especially if it's being sold by Nancy Sinatra in a bikini.
Of course.
Which is how they sold it.
So yeah, if anybody up there in the chat has any questions for us, feel free to go ahead and post those, and I'll try and grab as many as I can. Lauren, I'm going to put you in charge of the BBQ Network questions. So just periodically throughout the show, if you want to throw us out a BBQ Network question to answer, we can do that.
I'd be happy to.
Let's see. We've already got a question from DJ Donley for me, so I'll go ahead and answer that. He says, Pizzow question: if you were to sell something from your collection, what would it be and how much would you sell it for? It depends on what it is. You got to be more specific, DJ.
How about those 3 masks in the back on the top?
Oh man. I would have to sell those for $300 total, plus shipping. And if it's to Canada, the shipping will be like $35.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Is there a VAT to Canada?
No, we don't have. It's actually. Is that the one that you can send media stuff through, or?
Oh no, is there a value-added tax?
Oh, we have different tax. We have like a harmonized tax. It's like a provincial and like federal combined. We in Nova Scotia, I pay 15% tax on everything.
Brutal.
Yeah.
My signed posters. I would never sell the Romero signed Dawn of the Dead poster, and I would never sell the John Carpenter Halloween poster, and I would never sell the Friday the 13th poster that's got like everybody on it.
You get a bunch of them, don't you?
Yeah.
Did you get a bunch of them for part 2 as well, or am I?
For Friday 2?
Yeah.
I've got who have I got from part 2? I've got Amy Steele, Steve Dash, Adrian King, and I think that might be it for 2.
Okay. I don't know why I felt like you had a video once where you stockpiled on those 2. I don't know why.
Yeah, no.
That's still good.
Just 1 and 5, I've got them pretty much stockpiled on. So.
Nice.
The best and the worst.
Don't.
Oh, shots fired.
A lot of people do think that the original Friday is not, I mean, they consider it not as good as the rest, but you should be ashamed of yourself, Lauren.
We're gonna get there eventually, so what the hell?
Stingray's joined us. What's up, Stingray? How you doing, buddy?
What's up, guys?
What's going on?
Okay?
Yeah, what's up?
Cool. Nope, same old, man. Same shit, different toilet.
There you go. What are we drinking tonight?
This is French roast, more of the Walgreens special.
Oh, Walgreens special. Nice.
Hey,
Let's
Jay.
go ahead.
Jay,
What's that?
I dropped something in the mail for you that you should have by Tuesday.
Okay, thank you.
Don't let neighbors steal it off your porch.
And
No.
and before you open it, light the fuse that's hanging out from the side. Okay.
Listen, this is a business arrangement between me and Jay. It has nothing to do with you, Pez.
Don't pay attention to the white powder.
Yes.
Man.
Yeah, I saw The Turning. Have you guys talked about that yet?
No.
Let's talk about that shit.
Okay,
Yes.
let's talk. Let's have you guys seen any movies lately? Lauren, have you seen any movies lately?
Let's start with Jay.
Jay, have you seen any movies lately?
I heard what Lauren was talking about it before I saw it, and about halfway through, I was like, "It's not quite as bad as what he was saying," but yeah, it's a pretty rough one. I wouldn't really recommend it unless you're just a big fan of those spook house style movies. Yeah, it wasn't. The kid was good. The kid from Stranger Things, he was really good.
And Wolfhard's pretty good.
Wolf or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Wolfhard?
Finn Wolfhard.
Yeah.
That's a crazy cool name, man.
I know. He should be in a metal band. Call it Wolfhard.
But yeah.
Yeah, it's a big, yarn ball of cliches. It hits every major ghost scare cliche at least twice, from faces in mirrors to, just endless kind of jump scares and, hey, she sees something horrific out of the window, runs to go help, and of course it's not really there. I mean, it's stuff you saw in the 70s, and then it's a lot of stuff that you've seen in the the Blum haunted house movies recently, and it's just really compressed. It's a really boring film, which is the amazing thing. For as many scares as they attempt to throw in it, it's boring as hell. And the weird thing about the movie is that all the reviews you're reading are saying that the movie just ends. That doesn't have an ending. And it has an ending. It's just so underdeveloped and half-baked that even though it's it's another cliche. It's another big cliche. But because it's done so poorly, it doesn't even register for most people. I think people fall into a stupor watching this movie and just kind of things are happening in front of their eyes. But
So people aren't they're not understanding the ending?
Go check out the YouTube reviews, man.
Wow.
They think the movie just ends.
No, it gives you an ending.
It gives you an ending.
I'm not very happy with it, but it's there.
Yeah, well, it's really not something people should be going to see. It really isn't.
Well, if you're a real horror fan, you'll go watch it and support it in the theater.
I was hoping we'd get into that.
Christian's joined us. What's up, Christian? How you doing, buddy?
Hey, what's going on? You can hear me pretty good?
Can hear you pretty good. Yeah. I see the Wi-Fi extenders working pretty good.
Oh, hopefully I'm not uglier and higher definition.
Yeah.
But keep your comments to yourself. But no, I ain't got no free time, so I haven't been able to see anything in theaters or nothing. The last thing I saw was The Grudge, but from what I'm hearing about The Turning, it sounds like everybody should turn around when they pull up to the movie theater. So
I don't even remember seeing very much. Like, somebody asked me about it in a stream I did the other night, and I was like, The Turning, what even is that? And like, I had to look it up, and I was like, oh yeah, I completely forgot that it existed.
I don't know why, but there's been like a media blitz, at least maybe just up here in Canada. Like, it's on every commercial break. There's a clip for it, like constant. I've seen more ads for that than anything in forever.
Wow.
And it's like the only spooky movie we have at our theater right now, which is aggravating. I kind of want to see Color Out of Space, and it's not anywhere up here. And I did want to see Underwater, even though I heard it was lackluster, and I couldn't see that either. So
I saw Color Out of Space, and I enjoyed it. It's a little slow, but if you're a big Lovecraft fan, I think you'll dig it.
A couple years ago, 10 years ago, Ivan Zaccone adapted the same story for a film that is called Color of the Dark, and I really enjoy his film a lot. It stars Debbie Rochon. It's a slow burn, but it's a really good adaptation from a great director. So part of my hesitation is we've seen that story adapted a lot because The Curse was based on it. Die Monster Die was in the 60s was based on it. So this is one. It seems like with Lovecraft, there's like 4 stories that they keep adapting instead of going to all the others.
yeah.
Well, it's a beautiful looking movie, and there's some really nice practical makeup effects in it. And of course, Nicolas Cage starts out as like this very normal family guy, and then by the end of it, he's like almost back into the character he played in Vampire's Kiss. So there you go.
So I did see another film this week in theaters, which blew absolutely the Turning way out of the water, which was an Indian film called Psycho. I have a review of it on my channel, but if it's playing in your area and you like early Argento giallos, go see it, because it's a loving tribute to that 1971 to 76 giallo period.
You would have thought that they would have looked at the first Psycho remake and been like, wait a minute, let's not do that again. But it's a shot-for-shot remake of Psycho, but it's for the Indian market.
It literally has nothing to do with Psycho. The first thing on screen is the classic Hitchcock side portrait, and it's dedicated to him. After that point, it has absolutely nothing to do with Psycho whatsoever, except maybe spiritually in some way. I don't know, but it'd have to be very vague. But it was again, if you like early giallos, this is like the movie of the year for you. It's long though; it's 2.5 hours. Cool. But I loved just stewing in that world. I had a lot of fun with it, and all the stuff that you kind of love about those early giallos, besides the violence and the gore but if you like the kind of stagey dialogue and the kind of not quite logic that goes into detective work, that's all in place. It's all there. It really feels authentic to that period. But here's the thing. It's the best shot film that you're going to see this year. It is absolutely gorgeous from beginning to end. If you doubt me, just go to YouTube, watch the trailer. It's just exceptionally beautiful film. And I think anyone who likes that stuff, which if you're watching this broadcast, you pretty much should love those films. It's a way to go. I'd say so far this year, it's my favorite thing, but we're only a month in. Favorite theatrical anyway. But yeah, so I mean, if America keeps throwing Underwater, The Turning, and The Grudge at us, I'm going to continue to be searching outside our borders. That's just how it is. And to be clear, I would love domestic horror to be the best there is, but right now it's just so far behind.
Stingray, what were your thoughts on The Turning?
Generic. I think all the actors did a good job. I wasn't really disappointed with their performances or anything. It was just, you've seen it all before, and it's, I like that type of movie, so I'm glad I saw it, but it's something I'm never going to watch again. But yeah, I would say only if you're a big fan of that style of movie, haunted house style or whatever, to avoid it.
Okay. Anybody else see anything good, bad, or indifferent recently?
Not really. The last thing I saw was Star Wars. So.
Well, what was your thoughts on Star Wars?
Yeah, it was meh. It was definitely my least favorite of the 3. And I've been not a supporter, but I've liked them. But this one felt very meddled with. There wasn't as much payoff of what you expected. I kind of expected this one to finally go its own way, and they laid some groundwork and they rehashed a few things, and this one was kind of going to go, take it in another direction, and it was the same kind of stuff over again. And I don't know, it was okay. There were some scenes that I liked. I liked some of the action scenes, but I don't know. It just wasn't. It just fell flat for me.
I had waited to watch it. I just saw it a few weeks ago for the first time, and I actually was kind of surprised. I liked it. I've heard all the terrible reviews and everything. I mean, I actually kind of liked it. So
I didn't buy into any of the terrible reviews, and I usually don't. And I usually am very positive. It was just there were so many times where I saw where it could have been just a little they could have just done something a little bit better. And then afterwards, I read this whole thing about basically Abrams got his wings clipped a little bit after Rian Johnson got to go full bore with the second one. They were kind of we need to back this shit up a little bit. So, instead of getting to apparently that whole I don't want to ruin anything, but there's an end sequence at the end where some familiar faces drop in, except they're just voices, and they were supposed to be faces. And it was all filmed and just not put on screen. And there's just some weird spots where it just feels a little bit it could have been they could have just tweaked it a little bit and it could have been better, but I don't know.
Part of me wonders if, some of the problems weren't, because Carrie Fisher died, and, they intended on her role being a lot bigger than it was. I mean, this was going to be her film, right? I mean, it was,
and that whole sequence, I don't want to let anything go because there's probably some people that haven't seen it, but there's a whole sequence in there involving Kylo and her, and it's so confusing and muddled together. I literally was sitting there and I was like, this is a movie with a $200 million budget, and this doesn't make a goddamn lick of sense. What's happening right now? It was spliced together super fast, and I was just like, this is that took me out of it big time. I don't know.
Well, they kept saying from the beginning, "Oh, we've got a plan. We've got a plan for the series. We've got it all planned out, all mapped out," and clearly they
did not.
They clearly did not.
Either that, or they had a plan, and they I can't believe it. And I've said it before. I cannot believe that they gave Rian Johnson such a carte blanche that, and they just were somebody was they were sitting in the back signing documents to say he could do whatever he did, but they kind of act like he blew it out of the water, and then Abrams had to pick up the scraps or something, and
of course
that's
I don't
bullshit.
you
know what I mean? I think that's bullshit. But in a way, when you start watching it, I mean, at the end of Johnson's movie, the lightsaber's destroyed, and the next one she just got it again. There's no question about how it got repaired or anything. You know what I mean? There's little things that just it's they didn't know what they were doing. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just Hollywood needing to abandon these older franchises and do something new.
Yeah,
they're just it's done. It's all done.
Well, and speaking of an old franchise that desperately needs to die, I watched Terminator Dark Fate the other day.
I haven't been able to bring myself to do it yet.
Yeah, and that one just
You know what? God bless Linda Hamilton. She basically came out and said, "I hope to God I don't have to do another one."
I heard about that.
It's kind of a scary comment because it makes me think that she definitely signed into some kind of a 3-movie contract, and she's actually quaking that they might call her up and be like, "You got to do another one."
If Linda Hamilton and Arnold weren't in that movie, I feel like it could have been decent.
Well,
Linda Hamilton was the problem for me.
And watching that movie, I don't know how many times I thought. I mean, it's like they followed the Force Awakens template. Let's basically remake an older movie because basically it's T2, but we'll throw Linda Hamilton in there for the nostalgia pop. We'll throw Arnold Schwarzenegger in there for the nostalgia pop. We'll introduce these new characters and basically give them nothing. But because we tell you she's the savior of humanity, you're just supposed to embrace her and love her as much as you love John Connor, who you just watched be murdered like that, and basically says that the first 2 movies meant absolutely nothing because the savior of humanity is as expendable and as replaceable. So what's the point? If he dies, there'll just be another one.
Yeah.
You see, I don't think it's a problem to kill off John Connor. I think it's a brave move, but you have to write a film that justifies that decision. You can't just do the same thing again.
How is the answer? Oh, he's dead, but don't worry, his mom takes care of it. Do you know what I mean? That's not the way to do that.
No, I hate the idea that you can't touch anything that happened in a previous film because people liked it. I think that is stifling for art, but I think that you have to write decent films.
Well, yeah, and
So I mean, this comes back to the Aliens thing, but here's the thing: Aliens undoes the end of Alien, and no one gets pissed off because most people really like Aliens, right? To have Sigourney Weaver go back into space, you have to be okay with the ride, because otherwise it's stupid as hell.
Mm-hmm.
So the problem with something like Terminator is they make this bold decision to that definitely impacts the previous films, but then they can't pay it out with anything strong.
Right.
It's just a retread, and
One
it's
thing
empty, stupid.
That I think both Star Wars and Terminator is the broader universe, the broader world that's out there that you find in like the TV series they show. I mean, I know we probably talked about Mandalorian Into the Ground. I mean, is it the most groundbreaking show ever? No. Is it probably one of the better shows ever? No. But it's refreshing because it's a different thing within the world of Star Wars that gets you away from the same stuff we've seen over and over again and the rehashiness of it. It's a by the numbers Western for the majority of the season, but it keeps you hooked because it has just a simple little plot device that makes you want to see more.
Mm-hmm.
I think Terminator should, like you said, go away, one. But if it's going to hang around, maybe it should go into, I mean, they've already tried series television with it, I know, but get away from the Connors completely. There's a whole other thing going on, with the war-torn, world that exists in the future. And there's so much more that's there.
Mhm.
If you need to get people in the seats because it's Terminator, go there, go
I
there.
agree 100%.
Mm-hmm.
It's getting to the point now where it seems to think like it's like, I don't know. Maybe they think that most of they're stupid. They got to see Arnold, or they're not going to go.
Mhm.
They got to see, they got to see Luke, or they're not going to go. I really don't. I don't know. It's getting to the point now where like The Mandalorian is a case in point. I think the show it's okay. It's meh, but it's a cool little. I like it because it's a Western. Like I get to watch a Western. Like you said it, McNutt. It's like. That's the reason I like throwing it on, is because it's just kind of a cool little Western show, and
it's shot well, it's written just well enough, and it moves at a good enough pace that it makes you want to see the next episode, and that's really all it has to do. I mean, I just don't understand. I mean, I think Star Wars has a little bit different situation. If they were going to make an episode 7, one of the major points that I heard, from another guy that I watch on YouTube, Dave McRae, talked about how people seem to rewrite history and say, well, now that 7 and 8 came out and we're not huge fans of them, and I'm just saying they, as in, folks on the internet or whatever, we somehow can rewrite history and say, well, the prequels weren't that bad. But here's the thing, guys, they really were that bad.
Mm-hmm.
And when 7 came out, they had to, I think they felt an obligation under Disney and with JJ and all that to make it Star Wars again. So how do you do that? You try to mimic the feel, and when you mimic the feel, you end up just remaking A New Hope again, or Star Wars for the purists out there. It's a trap. I mean, not to quote Star Wars, but it's a trap, and they suffered because of that. But they did have an obligation to try to watch Star Wars Episode 3. And tell me when you get to the end of it how that you didn't feel like there were like 18 golden opportunities that they just completely missed. There's so much there because what has to happen in that movie, and they just botched the crap out of it. And that's only Episode 3. Forget 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I really wish they would just let it go. But and like again, I gave Force Awakens a pass in a way because I did like the characters. I liked the pace. I liked some of the storyline. It had some rehash, but I lived with it. And I really thought it was just kind of the stepping off point. And then I liked the second film because it kind of took some bold moves. It wasn't the most well put together movie, and that whole thing with Canto Bight is just awful. But there were some things in it that I liked, and I thought it was a decent send off for the Luke Skywalker character. But then to do it again with the third one, now just stop.
Yeah.
If that's what you're gonna do. If that's if Kathleen Kennedy's sitting down writing out the next 3 movies to come out in 3 years or whatever it is, just stop. Full stop. Just give it up.
You made that bed with Rian Johnson. You let him do his thing.
Yeah.
You got to lay in that bed now. I mean, for better or for worse, because what ended up happening was I I personally, I'm with Jay. I enjoyed episode 9. It was a fun time at the theaters again. It was a lot of that comfort foodie stuff again, though, which, it was fine for what it was. But the length of that movie was padded at the beginning because they had to do that whole, well, we didn't like episode 8, so how do we justify 8 in the first third of 9?
Mm-hmm.
And then we finally get into something that's sort of something else for 9, but not really. I mean, again, a perfectly fine movie. If I was a kid age 12 sitting in the theater, episode 7 and 9 were a fun ride.
I still like,
I think, 8 would have been kind of a dull one for a kid, I think. But
I think for sure it's a little dark. But like my kids run around here in Kylo Ren masks. It's kind of their Star Wars in a way, although they're a little too young yet. But I hope that when I finally show them the original Star Wars, they're going to say, "Wow, these are so much better." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we're talking about, I think, a real problem with movies these days, and that's just the complete lack of originality and of any kind of original story. They just keep going back to the well over and over again. They need to let Terminator die. They need to let Star Wars go on a big hiatus. They need to, we've got, they're talking about a Jaws remake now. They're about rebooting The Crow again, or attempting to reboot The Crow again.
Well, Blumhouse is it's like in the last few weeks, I feel like there's been 3 big remake drops from them alone.
They're gonna do a new version of The Thing. And we've got Candyman coming out. We've got a new Hellraiser reboot or whatever coming out. And what's the other reboot?
Hellraiser? Wait,
You said Candyman, huh?
Yeah, a Hellraiser reboot.
They're seriously doing another Hellraiser reboot?
So, my understanding is if you say Candyman 5 times in a mirror, now you get a free Starbucks venti coffee.
Sweet. That's what I'm going to do. Then.
Well, Hellraiser's kind of funny. It's because how many bad ones did they make?
Well, Hellraiser is one of those series that
it's
absolutely they got to the point where it was honestly like somebody was writing episodes of Law and Order, and they were like, maybe we can make this into a Hellraiser movie.
Let's throw Pinhead in there for 2 minutes.
They were horrific, and I don't know how. I'd almost love to get all the bad ones into a box set with all the explanation of how that should happen. But for me, the first 2 are holy ground. I just love them, and I really just I don't know what else they could say with a remake. That it wasn't already said in the original, but that's always the case. But those ones in particular, I feel pretty.
Here's what I'll tell you. Female Pinhead killing toxic white men. That's the plot.
In the first book, I would say that the main Cenobite is actually female.
That's true.
Novella. So I could see them going back to that source material and trying to prop that up a little bit. But
it's explicitly about rape culture.
Here we go.
Which you can see how it works. You can see what's going to happen too, right?
Yeah. I really wish somebody was saying this in the media recently. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I think it was Joe Bob. Do we really need all these movies to tell us something? Do we really need to have something political or something social thrown in our face every time? Can't we just throw in a movie and?
He was crucified for that, and you know what he meant by it. I mean, you can read between the lines and see what he meant about it. And you guys can see me on Twitter.
Anymore.
You know that I sometimes I think there's this whole agenda, and then there's the anti-agenda, which is also an agenda, and we're just a bunch of agendas fighting each other at this point. Yeah. And it kind of just gets in the way of having any fun with movies. I mean, that's just where that's my point of view on it, but that doesn't deny the fact that these things exist and they are problematic. I mean, I'm not going to deny that at all. Yeah. But there comes there's a place and a time, and I think when people started fighting back with Joe Bob saying, well, there wasn't or not an agenda, but there was commentary in these things. Yes, but I think what he's saying is this is overt. Mm-hmm. This is page 1 of the draft as opposed to woven into the entire script. Not that you want on every page there be some reference, but you know what I'm saying. It's in the fabric, not in the words all the time. If that makes any sense, and I think that's the big difference between the commentary. There's nothing wrong with social commentary. It's that we're putting it as it's right behind the title explicitly in these movies, as opposed to part of the paper it's written on.
Yeah. Well, and did you guys see Stephen King got crucified the other day because he said that diversity should not dictate art or something to that effect?
What he said was you shouldn't consider basically something to the effect of you shouldn't consider diversity when you're thinking about when you're analyzing art, kind of something along those lines.
Right.
Like you should really just be looking at the art and saying, is it good? He got, but I watched that and he kind of put up 3 tweets, and I think his third tweet basically said, a lot of people that are of a minority, or they don't have a seat at the table. Like he really said almost immediately, like, yes, you shouldn't consider it when you're comparing art, but there's a lot of people that don't get an opportunity to show their art. Like it was kind of like in 2 pieces. He did he did a Washington Post maybe, or he did a newspaper article recently where he actually got to kind of give his last word on it, and much more eloquently, of course, than 144 characters or whatever it is, 288 characters.
But was that article him explaining his?
He didn't. I would say that it wasn't like in pure Kingian way. Like it wasn't him saying like. It was kind of nice because it wasn't him backing down and saying I was wrong. It was him saying, "Here's what I was saying."
Okay. So you mean it wasn't him bending the knee and like
not at all.
Okay.
Yeah. It was him saying like, I completely agree that like and like at the end of it, he made some great points. He's like, I've been writing stuff with powerful females and stuff like that. I wrote Carrie in the 70s. Like he's like, and that's a story about like women and having strong character and stuff like that. And he's like, I'm behind this 100%. What I was talking about was if you're gonna pick 10 movies for the year and you're gonna say which ones were the best, you should pick the 10 movies that are the best.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll tell you
But at the same time, the guys that are in the academy are 65-year-old white men. For 95% of them, up until about, I think he said like 2012, maybe they started actually kind of diversifying, and now it's a little bit more of a blend. But like even now, it's like a 65% of them are 65-year-old white men or something like that. Like, so maybe that the academy needs to change a little bit, so that some stuff that you don't, maybe gets an extra chance or something along those lines. But
I mean, the comparison that works for me is you want concussions to stop in the NFL, take the face masks off the helmets. You want this crap to end with all these award shows, stop the award shows. We don't need awards for art. I mean, the reward is people going and seeing it and putting the money down to go sit in the seat and telling people that they enjoy it or don't enjoy it or why they enjoy it or don't enjoy it. Let the people speak. There's always going to be the people out there that dive bomb stuff on Metacritic for like games, and that's life. But don't give these guys the power to have that power. I mean, but ultimately it's a big fashion show that people tune in for, so they're just going to keep right on plugging away.
You see, it's all a big distraction. I think first off, none of this would be an issue whatsoever, whether you had a strong point of view that you're expressing through art or not, if you were writing well. If it was about subtext rather than macro text, no one would even care, because we didn't. For years and years and decades, no one was annoyed that a film, maybe their favorite film, had different politics than them. But when it becomes impossible to enjoy something without the message becoming the most important part of it, the most notable aspect of the film, well, yeah, there's going to be a problem, because why do we go to films?
To escape.
Right. And that's what it comes down to. All the rest of it can work and can be enlightening and wonderful, but at the end of the day, it's not why we're there. And I think that's what people are really angry about, is that they're not getting the entertainment first. They're not upset that the message is. I consider myself to be a feminist in a way. I don't like words like that, because I think that once you identify one group of people, you're part of the problem. I want to see everyone do well. And
I've always said I'm a humanist, but I agree. I'm on the same side of the fence as you. I feel like I push a little bit feminist because I see, like my wife, I see some of the stuff that happens to her in her career that pisses me off, and it's that level of it, right? So sometimes I lean a little bit into that, but at the end of the day, I'm really just I'm more of an equality kind of guy.
And the biggest thing is, going back to the horror genre for just a second, because that's where I live, we should be very proud of this genre. From the beginning of this genre, women have had a real voice whether you're talking Mary Shelley or you're talking about Shirley Jackson, whether you're talking about Anne Rice or whether you're talking about Charlene Harris, there has always been women at the forefront of our genre. And the fact that now you have something like the Black Christmas remake come out and kind of suggests that women have been treated badly by the genre is insane. So of course the audience rose up in anger because it hasn't ever been true. Cat People, I'm talking about the Tournai film, is a far stronger feminist statement, I'm sure, than the Black Christmas remake. No question about it. And considering the years between them, it just comes off as self-serving to play the victim card at this point in the way they are. Again, write a great film, and I have no problem with any of it.
And the thing that kills me the most is that I think we're kind of on the cusp of a really great time for the horror genre. Like, they always say that times of strife and things like that, it's kind of when we see the best horror films. And if there's ever been a time right now, I mean, Australia's burning, China's loaded with this coronavirus, we've got earthquakes, we've got political strife all over different nations. I mean, now is the time for horror to shine. And if every movie's going to have to throw some political agenda in my face every time I go to see it, it's going to kind of ruin it for me. You know what I mean? And I'm not the guy I really am not the guy that feels like there's constantly an agenda. I'm not into, like, I don't know how to put it exactly. I don't feel like there's some grand conspiracy a lot of the times that I see some people. I feel like they really feel like that's the case. I lean in that positive mode. I don't really go there, but I see it so many times now that I can't ignore it with certain films, and I just don't want to fall down that path anymore. I just want to have some fun to movies.
Here's the problem with this whole statement. Black Christmas remake.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Okay, go make your statement in a new film.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because that movie had nothing to do with Black Christmas. It was a remake in name alone. You know what I mean?
They're trying to take the sure bet on a title to get you in the seats, knowing that there's nothing beyond the title worth the price of admission, and they're doing that across the board in all forms of art because the fat cats with the dollars behind it. They want some guarantee that their investment's going to make something, and they don't believe that anybody can put a decent product on the table. And that's sad because there's so many people out there who have something that's better than decent to put out there, and they're relegated to,
I mean, that's a big part of the reason why. Oh, I'm sorry, Rahul, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, I'll be quick because I know I'm dominating a little bit today. I'm chatty today. The original Black Christmas, like, I don't know, I don't know anybody that's watched the movie and thought it was just a bunch of women getting cut up. That movie is a statement of, like, powerful women. Margot Kidder's character in it is, I don't know, I watched that movie and I never think of it as that, and maybe that's just me. Maybe that's the perception of most people. I don't know, but when I watch that movie, I think that, like, to take that movie of all movies and try to make a statement out of it, like, I just feel like you're but like the original did it. They did it more elegantly.
They want to do so much revisionist history with this kind of thing, to where they want to say, well, all horror movies have been misogynist and sexist and blah blah blah. But you're talking to, you're in the same sentence as the Black Christmas remake, not even realizing that, well, the Black Christmas was pretty progressive for its time. You're talking about a woman in the early 70s saying, I'm going to have an abortion here because I want to live the rest of my life without a kid. And her, the man who's knocked her up is like, no, you're keeping it. And she's like, no, screw you. It's gone. And screw you, you're gone too. You know what I mean?
And you win an Emmy because of it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, and there's a lot of revisionist history with, like, it really upset me when, like, the Black Panther movie came out. And they were like, this is the first black comic book movie. And I'm going, you've got a very short memory. What happened to Blade? Does Blade not exist? There were 3 of those movies. Do they not exist anymore? And then they were like, with Wonder Woman or Captain Marvel, this is the first female-led comic book movie. Well, I mean, I know Elektra sucked, but what about Elektra? Did she not exist? I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of revisionist crap.
There wasn't a long-running Wonder Woman series in the late 70s.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Let's answer some questions and then we'll dive into a couple of topics here. Crystal Lake Counselor 1977, our buddy Chris says, Piz and panel, are you more excited to see Top Gun 2, Bill and Ted 3, or Halloween Kills? For me personally, I'd have to say Bill and Ted 3 of those three. I really have no interest in seeing Top Gun 2. But anybody else?
Bill and
That's a
Ted
Halloween
3.
Kills.
I fucking love Bill and Ted. I'll fight you over Bill and Ted.
Oh yes.
They've only gone back to the well one time on that one, so I'll take it.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, these guys are like 60 years old now. Oh man,
What's
there's no way that movie's gonna be good, man. There's no possible way.
What was that third option again?
Halloween Kills?
Top Gun 2 or Halloween Kills?
I got a question. What's going to be the worst out of all three of them?
Top Gun 2.
I think so too.
I know Stone's looking forward to the new Bill and Ted. I don't
Halloween
mean
Kills is going to be the worst by far.
Well, if
By
Top
far.
Gun 2 doesn't have any Kenny Loggins in it, I'm definitely going to be pissed off. I love Kenny Loggins. Halloween Kills better have Kenny Loggins in it, or I'm going to be pissed off.
I think my choice of those selections would be to see the inside of a morgue cooler.
Okay.
You know, I served 8 years in the Navy. I could give a shit less about Top Gun 2 because the first one, all the first Top Gun is, even though it was the #1 film of 1986, I mean, all it was a PG-rated version of An Officer and a Gentleman. It's the exact same plot from the same studio by the same producer, and he hired a couple hacks. Hey, we need to make a new version where the military and the Pentagon actually approve of it. And so Top Gun came out, and then military recruitment raised by 500%. It's so lame. I mean, even the dog fights, which many praised back in the day, even that I thought was pathetic. You know, I like Tony Scott's films up in other movies, but I will not watch Top Gun ever again. You'd have to pay me to watch Top Gun 2.
You know, it's funny. You're absolutely right. I compare it to Avatar because I think that movie's more of a tech demo than it is a movie.
Yeah. Yes.
I think the only way Top Gun 2 can be successful is if Iceman and Maverick come out of the closet and quit, denying their love for each other.
Well, is Kilmer going to be in that one? Do we know?
I don't think so. But maybe he makes a cameo.
He should at least make a cameo.
He should. I don't know. Tom Cruise sells movies, so I wouldn't be surprised if it does okay.
Oh, it's gonna do big numbers. I promise you. I'd be willing to bet my mortgage on it. It's gonna do huge numbers.
The last preview that I saw, like, it even had a beach scene. Like, I as soon as I saw that second preview, I was like, this is this is the Star Wars Force Awakens of this. Like, they're doing the exact same thing. They're gonna take every beat from the original, and they're gonna make Maverick a teacher, and they're gonna have some new hot dog flyer and whatever. So I was like, I don't know.
You just wrote a better movie than what's
going to happen. Title?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Top Gun Maverick, isn't it, or is it?
I think so.
Or it's Top Gun Maverick.
Oh. Yeah, I think it is Top Gun Maverick.
What's just wrong with putting a number after a sequel? Jesus Christ!
You can't have they don't do 2 anymore.
What happened? What the hell happened? Think about this. Halloween Kills. That is not a complete sentence, for God's sakes. Halloween Kills what? That's not even. It's not even a. What does that mean? Stone, tell me what Stone.
Halloween Kills.
Stone, tell me what that means. Tell me what that means, Stone. Maybe I just don't get it.
I can't tell you, man.
What the hell is going on?
Do you want a real answer about why we don't get numerals?
Sure.
Because there's actually a business reason.
Yeah. Why?
So the world has opened up to international distribution a lot more since the 70s and early 80s when enumerating your films became popular. These later sequels are often being sold to countries that didn't initially receive wide releases of these films. It becomes off-putting to those locales. And by the same rate, you'd think that they would just have a million retitling like they used to. Yeah. But because you have single rights holders handling international distribution, they don't want to do that. So a film that has a semicolon and a subtitle is much easier to market in multiple locations. Sorry, that was the real thing, though.
I figured just the idea of a numeral next to a title, people just go, ugh, and it like cheapens it or something. I don't know, but that makes sense. That makes sense.
I thought it was just because people are stupid.
That's what I was gonna say. I was like, because people can't freaking count anymore.
Well, they
Girl,
kind of
I
make it
saw
freaking hard.
3. What about 4?
Yeah.
What's this Halloween I? What's that mean?
Halloween IV? Is this like a medical Halloween? Like, what is this?
I'm not watching that. I hate needles.
Yeah.
And I hate the Romans.
Let's see.
That'll kill you, man.
This was a question for Stone from BBQ Network, but I think you answered it in the chat, Stone. What are your favorite thrillers?
Oh yeah, I've already listed some of my favorites. I mean, usually when I get put on the spot, I'm like, I got to think of a list now. No. I usually have to give a few minutes, so I just threw some out there, but I even forget what I put out there. We need to talk about Kevin. That's one of my favorites from the past 10 years with Tilda Swinton.
Yeah, she's great in that.
What?
Yeah, she's great in that.
Yeah. That's one of my favorites of the past few years. Primal Fear. I like courtroom thrillers especially. But, Seven, Zodiac, stuff like that.
I love Zodiac.
Yeah. How can you not like Zodiac?
Yeah. Adam, the motion picture history horror fan, wants to know, what are our favorite A24 releases, favorite Blumhouse releases, favorite Hammer film, and favorite Universal monster movie? He's wanting some recommendations here. Favorite Universal monster movie for me would probably be Frankenstein. Favorite Hammer movie is The Wolfman.
What?
Of course.
It's not a Hammer movie.
No, the one that Hammer did.
Hammer did do the.
Is it not called The Wolfman? What's it called?
No.
Shit. They did have. Wait a second.
I don't know. It's been many years since I've seen any Hammer film, but I remember.
They did do a Wolfman. I just can't remember what it's called.
Yeah.
Curse of the Werewolf.
Yes, that's it. Favorite Blumhouse movie.
And it may have been a Spanish release that they just kind of distributed, but I can't remember.
Favorite Blumhouse movie. Oh, geez. I don't know. Favorite A24 release. I guess I would go with, I don't know. I've liked pretty much all of their releases, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could pick a favorite one.
A24?
A24, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Country Mile for me, baby.
Yeah, me too.
The Witch.
The Witch?
I
Yeah.
love The Witch.
The Witch, yep.
But
The Witch is definitely my favorite A24.
There you go, Stone.
I just bought it.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
What was the other
one?
one?
Of my favorite
Blumhouse?
A24 movies that I thought was kind of a unsung gem, although a lot of people found it disgusting, was remember Swiss Army Man?
I've not
Harry
seen
Potter,
that. With Harry Potter.
I love that.
Yeah, my wife made me watch that, and I'm like, what the hell is this? I'm not watching no damn Harry Potter. She goes, just watch it, Christian. And I was laughing my ass off, Stone. I was laughing my ass off.
It was weird, man.
Yeah.
Somebody was on some mushrooms and wrote that shit or something.
Yeah.
Weird movie.
That it was unique, though. It was unique. Only A24 would have put that out.
Yeah.
Right.
Borderline 11
Definitely,
mentions
yeah.
Green Room in the chat. I liked Green Room a lot, too.
Yeah, I like that.
I would
like
say
that a
my
lot.
favorite Blumhouse. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Does anybody have any favorite Blumhouse releases? I'm kind of drawing a blank with Blum.
Remake.
Excuse me?
Was that a Blumhouse?
What was it? Okay, if it wasn't, I apologize.
Which one was it?
I don't think the Evil Dead remake was a Blumhouse, was it?
That wasn't Blum.
No, that wasn't
That was
Blum.
Ghost House.
Ghost House.
Ghost
That was,
House.
Ghost
Rob,
House.
yeah, that's
I
actually
confused it
Raimi's
with
and
Raimi
Tapper's.
Tapper.
Yeah.
I confused it with
I like
the-
Insidious, I guess. I don't know.
Yep, that's where I was going. The first
Yeah.
Insidious.
Yeah, Insidious. Yep.
Great rewatchability.
I don't know. I think The Witch is the only A24 I've seen, which is sad, but I just don't
Me
get to
too.
see as much.
No.
Yeah,
man, they
I
made
haven't
so
seen a
many great
bunch.
movies.
There's a bunch. I know. So many that I missed. I would go Bride of Frankenstein probably for Universal. And what was the other one?
That's an easy choice right there.
Favorite Hammer?
Yeah, favorite Hammer?
Yeah, Hammer movie.
Gosh. Probably one of the Frankensteins because they get so crazy, but I don't know which one I would pick. I'll say Curse of Frankenstein, I guess. I think it's Curse, the first one.
I can't speak too much on Hammer, but I got this Scream Factory a while back. It's called Dracula, Prince of Darkness, and it's a Hammer film. Me and my wife watched it. We liked it because it was in color. I'm not a big black and white guy. I don't go out of my way to watch black and white movies, but I like that. That was pretty cool.
I love the Hammer movies. Every Halloween I watch.
I want to dive into the late stage of Hammer, and then if I'm really digging that, then I'll go farther back.
Don't go too late because they do have some pretty recent stuff.
What are we?
I'm pick a middle ground. Pick the 70s or something.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I figured I thought they were defunct. I meant late 60s, late 60s, early 70s. I'll start there and then I'll work my way back if I like.
Speaking of Blu-rays, I did get this in the mail today, and I cannot wait to dive into it. My Bloody Valentine.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
I gotta get that.
Oh, I can't wait. Can't wait to dive into it.
So my favorite Hammer, by far, Twins of Evil. I love the Karnstein trilogy. It is crown jewel. It's wonderfully wrong in every way that it should be. Bride of Frankenstein is obviously the best Universal monster movie.
It's got the perfect blend of humor and great acting and story. It's gorgeous,
it's funny, it's perverse, and it holds up like nothing else from that time period. I would say A24 Hereditary. That's pretty easy, and Blumhouse is Insidious.
I'm gonna change mine. My favorite Universal monster movie is The Mummy, the Brendan Fraser Mummy.
Yes, that's my favorite.
The Brendan Fraser Mummy.
I do this at least once a show, but fuck you.
I dare you to say that to Brendan Fraser's face. I dare you.
I can outrun him. There's no question.
You won't have time. You'll just have fist in your mouth.
You know what? Wait.
There have been four Mummy movies.
Listen, if Brendan Fraser strikes me, all that means is I'll be a guy who got hit. He will still have made Monkey Bone. I win.
Well, I mean,
What the hell?
Monkey Bone is considered a classic.
You know, I've actually kept a tally of A24 films that I've seen because I love it so much. I've seen 37 of them.
Oh man!
So there's no way you've only seen one.
I don't know. I'd have to go through. Like I see. The thing is, like I actually was saying this, I think, on the last show. I've had to make a list from 2010 forward of all the movies I didn't get to see because there's so much stuff I didn't get to see with. Just I don't get to watch anything. I don't get to go to the theater. I don't get to stream anything. Like I never, you know what I mean? So it could be that I honestly I can only think of The Witch. I don't know.
Under the Skin. I'm sure you saw that one. I know Piz a big
Oh
fan of
yeah. Under Skin. Yeah, that's a very good.
Is that
one.
the one with? I didn't see it, but is that the one
Scarlett
with
Johansson?
Yeah, I didn't get to see that one, but I did want to see that one. There's a bunch that I want to see. Did they do like Get Out? And
No.
Okay.
That was Bloom.
Oh, okay. I'm getting mixed up a little bit. Okay. There are some other ones that I think I wanted to see, but I can't think of any others. But maybe there is. I don't know. They have a lot of releases.
I actually didn't know that. I didn't know they'd made that many.
Well, they're distributors, so they picked some of them up.
Right.
But does anyone have any hope for Blumhouse at this point? I'm just asking because honestly,
they're spiraling a little bit.
Look at their slate this year; it's all retreads and
Fantasy Island as a Valentine's horror movie. like when I saw that, I was like, that's kind of interesting actually because it's a little bit off the wall.
They really pulled back on the advertising on it, so they don't trust that title, by the way.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it. I don't get a good feel for it. But then, like I said, like in the last couple of days, they've thrown out all these random remakes that they're doing that are just seem kind of, I don't know. I feel like they got something with Halloween and they're trying to throw. They're like, we got to try and do it again. And, I don't think that's going to be their niche. Enemy. they're gonna kill themselves doing that. I just don't think that's the play. But
The Thing really broke me. I was being silly the other day, but The Thing really broke me. Like, because I was so gullible to really think that Blumhouse had like the horror fanatics' best interest. I was so gullible. I got what I deserve. I got a slap in the face. You know, Black Christmas. I was like, okay, they're learning. They learned that lesson from Black Christmas. It's not making no money. No, they got 7 more remakes. It's like, what the hell? It's like, I'm over it, man.
The only one I think I'm looking forward to is like maybe The Invisible Man. I think that one may have some.
That looks pretty cool.
You know what's funny?
Because
I watched the trailer for that. I can't tell what the hell kind of movie it is. I can't tell what the hell.
It's a thriller, I'd say, but it's supposed to be very gory, apparently.
Like, that should be a comedy. The Invisible Man, that should be a comedy to me. For God's sake.
And Lee Wynell is really the only reason why I'm excited, to be honest, because I really liked Upgrade, and he can do a lot with a little. So I mean,
nobody's gonna go see that. Nobody's gonna go see Invisible Man. Nobody cares about Invisible Man. Nobody cares. Who's gonna go see that? Who's really gonna go see that? Nobody.
Well, it didn't cost anything, so it's gonna make money.
Well, I'll go see it.
The movie I'm worried about the most is Halloween Kills. I'm really worried about that film.
I'm hoping for redemption on that one. I really am. I don't have much hope for it. I feel like most people have said here, it's like they got a hit with the 2018 movie. They pushed all their chips to the middle of the table, and they've got a short-term plan, but they have no long-term vision at all for their studio at all. I mean, it's just, let's get as much money in their pockets right now, because they can't be dumb enough to not know that they're going to crash and burn with this, program's schedule or whatever you want to call it.
Did everyone love what they did with Dr. Sartain in the last one?
Well, that was the worst part of the.
Get ready for them to do it again with a character you know.
I bet I know what I know.
They're doing some revisionist shit in this one, aren't they? Like, they're going back.
Test screenings are going on right now.
Right now, Candyman's happening right now. I think too. Some test screenings.
I'd love to be a fly on the wall for that. No pun intended.
I'm pretty sure I heard that there's some people, because I've seen a couple of people on Twitter saying, like, is anyone going to this tonight? Stuff like that. So. I don't think they're doing too bad. It was either Blumhouse himself or Ryan Turk that were like tweeting from the Nile the other day.
If they blow their load with Sartain, though, they're going to have Halloween End before Halloween Ends comes out.
Yeah.
I mean, they either needed to go all in with Sartain or something, because they decided to put him out there and then they pulled him back right away. It's almost like somebody said, this is stupid, but it was too late to completely remove him.
I kind of hope they back that guy just out of pretend he wasn't there.
Well, that was reshoots. That was reshoots.
I think
that was to try and piece things together.
Well, they needed to have a reason for Michael to go to that house. That's the only reason that shit went down.
Right, because originally an entire different plot that led him there.
Yeah, he needed to get to that house, and it was the only way that they came up with this twist to get him there. That's the only. If you watch
doesn't work, but at least it's something, right?
It gives you some. I mean, it doesn't work, but it points in the right direction, I guess. I don't know.
If the new Dr. Sartain in Halloween Kills is who I think it is, no wonder Paul Rudd didn't want to come back.
You guys are killing me
now, man. He doesn't need to come back for fucking Halloween.
Paul Rudd's the man. I love Paul Rudd.
What's the theory? Because I can't picture it in my head. I don't care. Ruin it for me. What's the deal here?
Why would he become obsessed with Michael Myers because Michael Myers tried to. I don't know. It doesn't.
Just say it.
He's a white male, so of course they're gonna.
Yeah, it's a secondary villain thing.
Yeah. Isn't there also a line of dialogue in this? Isn't there also a line of dialogue in the screenplay where, like, Jamie Lee Curtis says, Michael Myers is just another man in a white mask,
white face,
white face. Yeah, white face. That's right. Yeah.
I don't think it actually belongs to her.
Okay.
I don't think the line belongs to her, but the line is in the film. Yes, at least at this point.
Yeah.
What do you think, Stone? Sound good?
What's up?
I said, what
Stone's
do you think?
Like, fuck this, I'm smoking. I don't care.
I'm hoping these test screenings go over really poorly and they fix it. But this is a series that has a bad track record for trying to fix their movies. So
after test screening.
Does it really matter? Because it's gonna make money. It does. Everybody's gonna whine and complain and say this.
But Christian, you know what? Everyone's believing that. That seems to be like what everyone's throwing around. But we've been through this a few other times. The original Halloween made a lot of money. It was the biggest independent film of its time. Halloween 2 made a fraction of it. It was considered a failure. That's why they did not just bring Michael Myers back a couple years later. They tried something new. Okay, so Halloween 4 comes out and is really a pretty decent sized hit. Halloween 5 was not. Halloween H2O came out and was a very big hit. At the time, it was the biggest of its franchise, followed by Resurrection, which was a outright bomb. Rob Zombie's first Halloween was a very big hit.
Yes, it was.
Followed by a very not spectacular box office. So the thing is, the average film goer, not a horror fan, shows up to these things every 10 years. That's what it comes down to. Every 10 years, they have an appetite to go see a Halloween film. It's only been 2 years.
Well,
see, I'm different on this. I think they're going to come out in droves to see this, and they're going to be burned by this one and say, I'm done.
Well, that's
and
what I
then
was,
Halloween Ends is going to be an absolute bomb.
That's what I was gonna say to that. You know,
I don't know. We'll see. But I think if early word comes out that this thing is not... First of all, the thing is, this is not going to be a $60 million opening. It's not going to be this time. There's
I
no
wonder
way.
what the budget was for, because they filmed them at the same time, didn't they? Or maybe they didn't. I don't know if they filmed them at the same time.
They're filming them pretty much back to back, and it's it's still happening. I think so. Although they are doing a test screening for Kills, I think there's still some stuff going on for Ends. Halloween Ends. Yeah, Halloween is going to end all right.
That's my fear. Yeah, they're going to wish they hadn't given it that title for sure.
Yeah.
I just want it to be so bad that Piz can say this was the worst movie going experience ever, so he can leave my damn Rob Zombie's Halloween alone. Piz, let's be honest, Piz, that's a possibility, isn't it?
I hope not.
I hope it is. I want it to
hope
be
not.
bad just so I can call you and say, Piz, it was worse, wasn't it? Leave Rob Zombie alone. # leave Rob Zombie alone.
God, I hope not.
I saw a midnight screening of Battlefield Earth when it came out.
Oh my God.
Oh my God, I saw that first night.
So here's the thing. It's kind of impossible for anything
You
to be
can never
worse
go
than
into the depths like that movie.
Listen.
That one and Attack of the Clones. Those two movies, I could never, ever drop.
Listen. I am a diehard, lifelong Stage 11 Scientologist, and I hated that movie. Okay, my thetan levels are off the chart. Okay,
oh man.
But I just could not get behind that movie. You know,
that explains the footage of you jumping on that couch.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, let's talk about what it takes to be a real horror fan.
I just thought it'd be good. I'm not going first on this.
Now, I did a video the other day talking about there's an old debate about supporting theatrical horror movies, or you're not going to get any future theatrical horror movies. Well, that debate kind of reared its head again on social media with the Black Christmas remake and with Underwater, where a lot of people who are kind of known in the horror movie community were on social media saying, just go watch these movies anyway. It doesn't matter if they're getting bad reviews. Just go watch them and support them, or it's your fault that we don't get future horror releases in the theaters. And I even heard some person say, well, if you don't support theatrical horror, you're not a real horror fan. And my response to that was, maybe 5 years ago, I would have been like, you know what? I agree more with supporting theatrical horror because I love the theater and it's hallowed ground and there's nothing like the experience of going to the movies. But now, I don't care where it's coming from. I just want good horror. Be that in the theater, be that streaming, wherever it's coming from. I just want good horror. And honestly, if I can take the theater out of the equation and some of the horrible experiences that I've had at the theater, even better. Even better. And then the whole thing of you're not a true horror fan if you don't like these movies. And I didn't go into this in the video, but I think it's only the tip of the iceberg considering some of the movies that are coming out later this year. And if you don't support those, then you're not a true horror fan. So I'm interested to hear your guys' take on, supporting bad theatrical horror movies just because they're horror. Do you believe in doing that? Do you think that's BS? And I mentioned this not long ago. I think the movie going experience to me has changed. The theater experience has changed, and I don't know. If I can take the theater out of the equation, if I could have streamed the Black Christmas remake the same night that it opened in theaters, or The Grudge, or Underwater, I probably would have paid and streamed those that night that they opened, if that option was available. But because it wasn't available, I saw none of them in the theater, and I have no intention to ever really watch The Grudge because all I hear is negative stuff about it. So, but anyway, let's. I want to hear your guys' thoughts on that. I know Lauren did a video talking about it today. He touched on some of the subjects that I mentioned in my video, but I want to let me start with you, Raiho. What do you think about this whole debate?
The first point that drives me crazy is this idea that you need to consume something to keep it like this idea that if you don't go to the theater to see movies, they're not going to put them in the theater anymore. It's the same thing I hear across. I'm going to go into video games a little bit for comparison. I'm a big gamer. I follow some gaming channels and stuff like that, and I see these people that are they're hardcore fans of Xbox, PlayStation, or Nintendo, whatever it is. Pick your poison. And if Nintendo publishes a game, they just go out and buy it. Doesn't matter what the game is, doesn't matter if it's good, doesn't matter if they're gonna like it, doesn't matter anything about it. And they'll make a video on YouTube and they're like, yeah, look at me, I copped this new game. And if you didn't go out and get it, you're not a real Nintendo fan. And it's the same idea here. It's this idea that you have to go out and buy everything, like you have to go buy in or they're not gonna do it anymore. Theaters are still there. People are still making movies. You know what I mean? The horror movies are still going to get made. If you go see all the shitty ones just because you got to go see them, then they're going to keep making the shitty ones. Like that's bottom line. If they keep putting out movies like, and I didn't see Underwater. I don't want to trash it because I didn't see it, but like I've heard nothing but blah about the movie. But I've heard a lot of things on social media about go see Underwater anyway. Don't pay attention to the critics. Go. I'm not somebody to pay attention to the critics myself. Like I'm not. I usually, for me, I look at who's in the movie, who's making the movie. I read like a synopsis, and I try to watch the first couple of teaser trailers. I don't like to go too far in because by the end, when the movie's about to come out, they just reveal too much to me. So if I like any of those things and I'm interested, I'm gonna want to go. I don't care what the reviews say in a way. Like if I think I'm gonna like it, I'm gonna probably go see it anyway. So I'm not trying to say like you have to listen to the reviewers or don't listen to the reviewers. Make your own opinion on that and that level. But at the same time, if you know a movie's dog shit and you're looking at it, don't go see it just because like, oh, they won't make another movie to go to that's bullshit. That's flat out bullshit. They are gonna make another movie, and if you support the bad ones, they're gonna keep making the bad ones. People are gonna make horror movies for the theater. They're cheap, and then sometimes they pay off and they make a lot of money. Sometimes they get away from it because it's like a movie like Underwater. They put a lot of money into it. They shelved it for a while. They put it out. It didn't do well. Yeah, maybe whoever put that movie out might be like a little antsy about putting out another one for a little while. But somebody's going to put out a movie, and if you keep supporting the bad ones, they're going to keep putting out the bad ones. That's always like it's the bottom. It's the lowest denominator. And I don't feel for that in any fashion. I'm never going to go buy something or consume something because, somebody made it. Like if I think it looks good, I'll go see it. If I think it looks like a fun game, I'll go play it. I'm never going to buy something because Nintendo put it out. I'm not going to do that. You know what I mean? Like that idea. And the same thing goes for movies. I think that's crazy. And I love the theatrical experience. If we're going into that realm of it, I will always try to see a movie that I want to see in the theater before I will stream it. If I think like Underwater, I wanted to see it. I wanted to go to the theater to see it. If there was an option to put it on my TV and watch it, only because it wasn't in my local theater, yeah, I may have done that. But if it was at my local theater, I would have went. I would have sat down. I would have watched it because I consider that the best way you're going to watch a movie ever. But this idea that you need to go to horror movies for them to make horror movies is nuts. It's straight up nuts.
What do you think, Stone?
Well, I mean, I look, I mean, when I was growing up, I went to the theater a lot. I went to the theater a lot of times, I wrote movie reviews for my local paper, got to see free movies all the time. I used to love going to the theater so much that I got a little burned out by it after a while, and I think things changed when Avatar came out and everything became 3Dized. Every movie insisted on becoming 3D this, 3D that. And I started drifting away from it. I mean, look, I mean, I've seen my fair share of bad horror movies in the theater. I mean, when we were talking about the movies of the 2000s, I mean, I actually paid money to see Lost Souls with Winona Ryder in the theater. And to this day, I want my money back. I mean, and I've learned from those experiences where I'm not going to pay to see a crappy horror movie like The Devil Inside. I'm not going to waste money that I could use for another movie. A better movie. I'm not going to support those kind of crappy horror movies when you can watch them for free and you can stream them, whatever. I mean. But I mean, I'm with Piz in that I just want good horror. I want to pay money to see good horror. I'll go see all the horror films out there if well,
if they appeal to you, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm gonna start seeing more horror in the theater just because I'm part of the Sausage Factory now. I mean, I'm going to see Gretel and Hansel this weekend, and I'm seeing The Lodge next weekend. So, I'm going to start going back to theater. Oh, but the other big thing is that nine times out of 10, I usually go to movies at the Alamo Draft House, because usually that eats up my budget. But at the same time, I don't want those distractions. I want to enjoy some food. I want to enjoy some alcohol. And, I don't enjoy going to regular theaters anymore, like AMC or United Artists or anything like that, unless it's an exception to the rule. But
well, and one thing I mentioned in the video too was just the overall cost of going to the movies it goes up every year.
Yeah.
Theater attendance was down in 2019, but they still made money because they just upped the prices of everything. Ticket sales were up, but theater attendance was down. So it's a pretty expensive endeavor to go to the movies, and it's only going to get more expensive. So, and somebody said in the comment section of my video, they said, well, a lot of theaters now, they can't just show the movie to get people in there. They've got to offer you a 3-course meal, a leather recliner, you know what I mean? A beer. So it's not just the movie anymore. You've got to go to the theater for, a meal and everything. It's got to be more of an all-inclusive experience than just watching the movie. But let's see. Andrew, what's your thoughts on the topic?
I'm a big fence setter between you and Lauren's video this past week because I like both of them, and I agree with a lot of the points in both because, there was a time where there was nothing better for me than to go to a movie with one or both of my cousins and then go to Waffle House afterwards and just talk about it. It was so much fun. But then again, what we were seeing was worth going to the Waffle House and talking about, and I think that's the problem we're running into now. I don't want to lose that experience, but I also don't have a reason to have the experience anymore like I once did. So it's, it's like one of those things I feel like we're grasping onto things that are slipping through our fingers as we speak because of lots of reasons, technology, what you can access in your home, but ultimately the product being placed on the big screen is not as worth it as it once was. But the point of this whole true fan or real fan or not fan enough, I hate that stuff because there is nothing wrong with somebody casually catching a horror film once in a while or casually catching, I saw Frozen 2 and it was great because I was there with my kids. I knew nothing about the movie. I hated the first Frozen and I was pleasantly surprised by the experience that I had. I know that's probably not what the audience on the Sausage Factory wants to talk about as Frozen 2, but that was a good experience for me in the theater. You know what I mean? Like, so does that make me not a true horror fan because I just told everybody that I liked Frozen 2? You know what I'm saying? Like, there doesn't need to be this barrier to entry. I think it's okay for somebody to get a passing blow of horror once in a while and be cool with that and then move on about their daily usual leanings, because ultimately, thankfully, going to see a movie or sitting in your house, nobody's there to look over your shoulder and see what it is unless you outwardly talk about it. But I think sometimes you don't feel very welcomed by a group of people if they're saying, you know, here's the rubric you have to follow to be one of us. You know, that's not what this is about. If that makes any sense. I just hate that whole real fan, true fan. That's just a bunch of baloney to me.
Would you go to the theater to would you go to the theater to watch a movie that you know is bad simply to support the genre? Any genre?
You know, I have to say probably no to that question, but I will tell you though, I have this, and this is a bad habit, and I'll just flat out admit it, but there are times when I go into a movie like Halloween 2018 with my dukes up because I want to like it so badly that I'm like, anybody who comes along and initially hates it, I'm like, you're just doing that because that's going to get you the attention right now. You know, this is a big thing that's coming out. People are excited about it, and you're just here to cut them at the knees. But then I see it myself, and I kind of mull over it for a little while. I'm like, I kind of reacted pretty poorly to that because the reality of the situation is it's not really the greatest thing that's ever come. I just want it to be, you know, like I want Halloween to be good because that is like, I mean,
it's hallowed ground.
Yeah. I mean, it just it's a beautiful place in movie watching history for me.
I totally understand. Stingray, your thoughts on the topic?
Yeah, I think I'm probably pretty much just going to echo what the other guys are saying. But honestly, like, you'd have to be an idiot to go and watch something that you know is bad, right? I mean, that sounds like something a crazy person would do.
Yeah.
Pretty, yeah. I mean, pretty much. I mean, unless
I mean, that's like, you're glutton for punishment or what? Like, I mean, and doing that is only, I think Ryan said, it's only encouraging more bad movies, you know. So,
yeah.
I mean, it's
yeah.
And I'm a huge, you know, it's like I still love going to the theater. It's a big, you know, thing that I like. You know, like Lauren, we have the Regal cards where you can see as many movies as you want.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because I saw you show that, and I'll ask it to Lauren also. When you have that, that membership, does that make you? Do you feel like you have to go to the theater more in order to get your money's worth out of that membership, or if you
a little bit, yeah.
Okay, so it's working. It's working.
But I mean, you know, with that, I can go see something that, you know, I'm kind of on the fence about, and I may be surprised, I may hate it, but, you know, something I wouldn't have gone to see otherwise.
Right.
You know, paid the full ticket price, because it's like, mine's only like, I mean, it's less than $20 a month.
Well, and I mean, you know, think about it. How many tickets can you get for a movie?
I mean, yeah.
So
like,
can you take
maybe?
So can you can take like your wife, and you can take like a friend?
No,
so
it's just one. One person.
Okay, one person. Okay.
And only you can use it too. It's got your picture on it, so
okay.
Make sure that someone's not using your account.
Okay. Do you feel obligated, Lauren, to like get your money's worth out of it? And do you find yourself like being like, oh, I got to go watch at least 2 movies this month, regardless, to get my money out of it?
Well, no, because I go see more than 2 movies a month anyway.
I mean, I'm just.
I know what you're saying, but I mean, it's the $20 price point of the plan that I'm on really makes it that it's hard not to get your value. I mean, there's also free popcorn and free drinks that you earn out. It very quickly, I mean, I'm probably saving, honestly, around $35, $40 a month. Just of what I would go see normally. So I just can't see that being. The other thing is, like, you know, I think this whole issue really comes down to us looking at it only from one perspective. Because the other perspective is, yes, you should not go to see films that do not appeal to you or that you know are bad at all. But I do think that it is important that when something comes out that does appeal to you, that you go. Because there is such a thing. The industry is folding in on itself. Theaters have to do more and more to get people to go. So there will be a day when there aren't movie theaters if we continue down this path. So what we want to do is encourage the right kind of product to hit the theaters. And we want to encourage those theater chains that have taken precautions to have a better experience, such as the Alamo Drafthouse, or any theater chain that is offering hearing assistance devices, because that takes away most of your problems, honestly. A lot of people don't realize that they're available. But I would, if I'm going to a primetime show, yeah, I'm going up and asking for one. And they know the deal too. They're not going to give you any crap about it. They're not going to say, "Well, do you have a medical problem?" No, they're just going to hand you the headset.
Does it plug into your seat, or what? How does that work?
It's all wireless now.
Oh, okay.
At least where I am, it is. But so I don't want to lose theaters. And I know everyone thinks that that's never going to happen, but people thought that we'd never lose record stores and we wouldn't be doing the slow striptease of bookstores. So it's a balance of the two. I mean, I went into this in my video, I think pretty nuanced, hopefully, but I think it is important that we support the good stuff when it comes out. And I think it's important to support the companies that take chances. If you want to see international film and you have a theater near you, especially if it's a big chain that is bringing on board these titles, support them if you want to see more of it. That just makes sense. But if we're only waiting 3 months to watch everything streaming, we're going to lose that option. And what I'm going to relate this to that I only touched on in my video is I think everyone on this panel is at least fairly upset that the physical media is being slowly but surely taken away from us as an option. That's happening because of sales not being there. That's what it is. So the same thing needs to be applied to theaters. Don't go to see the bad stuff. I agree with everything everyone says, but it's almost a paper man argument. It's a straw man argument because it doesn't really address the good stuff coming out. And if we're all saying, well, I wait 2 months, I'm going to be able to watch it for, $7 on Amazon then we're going to lose the option.
Well, here's a question I want to throw out there. Aren't for me the movies that I really want to go support are becoming fewer and fewer. So my trips to the theater are becoming less and less. And some of the movies that I do want to support because I live in a smaller area are movies like The Lighthouse or movies like, something smaller that is just not going to make it here.
So what I'd really suggest, is that we probably need to get to be a little bit more activist as a fan base. There is ways we have to communicate with these chains at this point. So if you have an AMC in your area, for instance, AMC have the distribution pipeline for international cinema. They can get the movies, but they're not going to unless they know they can sell. So if you can get enough people in your area to be loud enough about it and actually show up, then you could fight the good fight. That might seem unrealistic, depending on where you are. I'm very fortunate because I can drive in 40 minutes one way or another and see just about anything in release. Stone's in a similar position, whereas he can probably walk and see most things he wants to see. But I realize it's not that way for everyone.
Yeah,
So
I'm jealous.
If you want it in that area, if you want to have that kind of relationship with your local theaters, start a meetup group, honestly, of people who like what you like, and bring them in. But it's going to be a money where your mouth is type thing. You'll have to actually support it to get it. But there's no reason why a chain theater can't get the Lighthouse. It's insane. And frankly, they probably have the screens that are not selling tickets, just waiting to do it. But you have to put it out there. You have to be somewhat of an activist for what you want. It sucks that it's this way. I wish I didn't have to drive 40 minutes to go see, the the Indian Psycho film that I saw this week. But I'm damn glad I did, because you know what? Yeah, it'll eventually be available through some streaming service. I'm glad I saw it on the big screen because it's a beautiful film. That's my other fear in this entire issue, is that if the first time you see a great film, it's on your television, it's not going to be as good of an experience as if you did see it in the theater screen. And as David Lynch has very famously said, if you watch a film on your phone for the first time, you just took perhaps a great film and reduced it in value to yourself to a text message. And that's disgusting. So I think it's a balance of the two. When there is no such thing as a real fan, just as you can't be more punk rock than the next guy, okay? If you love it, if you like it, that's all legitimate. No one owns any of this stuff except for the people who own the licenses.
I'm a little more punk rock than you because I was at a Gigi Allen show and he threw feces on me. Okay? So I'm a little more punk than you. Sorry.
I don't think you did.
You don't think that? Okay, I've got it in a jar.
Where?
It's in a jar. It's in a jar in my freezer.
No. Where did you see a Gigi Allen show?
It was in Poughkeepsie, New York. 19 was it 87? I was 7 years old. I was moshing in the pit, and he just threw feces at me.
I think it's time for a BBQ Network question.
please, BBQ Network question, please.
Okay, let's. I'm sorry, I have to scroll up a little bit. Who would you cast as Frank Mancuso Jr.?
Good. I've got to look at a picture of Frank Mancuso Jr. to remember what he looks like.
No, you really don't.
Okay. I would cast
Ray Liotta.
Hey, I like Ray Liotta.
I would cast Eric Roberts.
That's a good choice.
Eric Roberts is good. Oh, and Cameron's here. Hello, Cameron. How you, buddy?
Good. How are you?
Good. Man, yeah. Frank Mancuso Jr.
I just got to go with the obvious, right? Christina Ricci.
She's a good enough actress. She could do it. I think
she could
do
probably produce the goddamn movie too, by the way.
Probably could. Yeah.
Have you ever seen Pumpkin? She produced that film. It's brilliant.
I've always wanted to see that. I know I've not seen it.
It's so good. I'm glad it got made when it got made, because they could not be made today.
Yeah.
Now, Lauren, I have to say, because I've heard you talk about Christina Ricci before, my issues with Christina Ricci is that because I've been following her in movies, let's say since Mermaids, when she's like 5, it's really hard for me. I don't care how good looking she looks, because I feel like I've known her since she was a little kid. I can't find her like that kind of attractive. If she had just come on the scene, let's say in Pecker, then yes. But because I've been following her since she was 5, it's kind of hard to be like, wow, she's super awesomely cute.
I just want to make it very clear to everyone that I've never seen Mermaids, and that will never happen.
Well, then you're not a true Christina Ricci fan.
That's true.
Yes.
Touche.
So the other thing I'd say is, Cam, is I dare you to try and feel that same way if you're in the same room with her.
I understand. I mean, but see, I felt the same way dirty when I watched Rob Zombie's Halloween. I saw Danielle Harris naked. I'm like, I've been watching her since she was a little kid too. So
I felt worse about that because every time that Christina Ricci has actually bared flesh, it's been for good reason in a film. Whereas, I mean, it hasn't just been like...
Moan.
It's a great film.
Mm-hmm. Good movie.
Yes.
It's a great film.
Good movie.
Do you see how I turned a BBQ Network comment into my fixation with Christina Ricci?
Well, very well done.
I got really excited today because I saw my notifications had blown up to 50, and I thought something had happened with my Heather Graham post from yesterday, but no, it was all of BBQ Network's 1,000 questions being aimed at us. So
there was only 130 or so.
Oh, okay.
Well, Heather Graham is looking very good. She
turned 50 yesterday.
50? My God. Yeah. She's looking good for 50, man. And you know what? She does not look like she's had work done. You know?
She might have.
And she just wrote and directed her first film last year.
Oh, well, good for her. Good for her.
Oh. And speaking of Heathers, I bought the Steelbook.
Oh yeah.
Ah.
I hate that art.
You don't like the art?
I hate.
I like the art on the back.
That's a lot better. Just go with the poster art, people. Go with the poster art every time on releases.
Yeah.
Stop.
I agree. The one with all the critics quotes on it, right?
Exactly.
Let me ask Christian the question that we've all answered about being a true horror fan and supporting horror in theaters, whether it's bad or not. What's your thoughts, Christian?
So when it comes to like theater stuff, I think you said this in your video, and I was with you. 10 years ago, back when I was in high school, I was the little brat on my phone making fart noises at night when everybody's in the theater doing stupid stuff, and I would, older guys would say, "Hey, you little bastard, shut up." And I would be like, "Relax, man, relax." But now I am the guy with the girl in front of me Snapchatting, and her phone just flashes, and I'm just like, I just want to punch you in the throat, So naturally, that makes me not like going to the theater at night. So matinee is the way to go, but that's really not what this is about. As far as people saying, "Oh, you're not a horror fan, you don't go to the theater," I don't owe anybody a goddamn thing. I don't give a fuck if it makes me not a horror fan or not, because more than being a horror fan, I'm a Christian Hannah fan of my bank account. So if I don't want to go see a movie, I don't care if it's horror. I don't, I get shit about this. I don't care if people want to support Diabolic DVD. That's great. God bless them. But guess what? If it's more money than Amazon, I'm not buying it from Diabolic DVD because it costs me more, and I'm supporting a guy who wants to have a warehouse. When it comes to me, it's just I'm not spending any extra goddamn money on something. And if I don't want to go see a movie, and I'm not going to be called, I'm sorry, I can hear myself in somebody's computer, and I'm losing my train of thought really bad. Who the fuck is doing that? Somebody mute or something. All right. So I'm just not going to, if there's something I don't want to see because it doesn't appeal to me, and if it's a horror movie, okay, I'm not a real horror fan. I don't give a shit. Just call me whatever you want. I'll change the name of my channel to Christian Hannah Not Horror Fan. I don't care. It's a non-issue for me. I could give a shit what these people are saying. I'm gonna spend the money on what I want to see. If the people that I know say good things about it, yeah, I'll go check it out. But if the trailer does nothing for me, if I don't want to see a movie about one of the Harry Potter girls underwater, I don't know if the film's good or not. I haven't seen it. I've seen what some of you guys have said. But if I don't want to go see the movie, I'm not gonna go see it. So if that makes me not a horror fan, I don't give a shit.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the way I think. Okay,
Christian, can I jump on your bandwagon for a second?
You could jump on my bandwagon. There's a lot of people on my goddamn bandwagon.
All right, so let's I think the people online on Twitter, obviously, they live in the here and now, obviously, right? They with no sense of history. So let's go back to the good old days of the 80s when most of us never saw. I mean, yes, I understand some of us did, but most of the horror films we caught up with were on VHS.
Right.
We didn't go support it in the movie theater because we couldn't get in. Right. And a lot of times, once we got on the horror train, we would go back and catch up on all the horror films in the VHS store. That makes us horror fans, but we didn't support theatrical horror. We supported on VHS, and guess what? The movie still got sequels. And usually by the time we got to it, the sequel was coming out the next year because it takes 2 years or so to make one unless you're a Paramount Friday 13th film. So,
who's posting these articles about this crap? Number one, because I want to turn the finger around, point it back at them. Are you jackasses going to see this stuff? You're probably getting free screenings anyway.
They are.
You're not paying. I'm not an idiot. Go fuck yourselves. I'm not paying to go see a movie that looks bad to me. Kiss my ass.
But the worst part is, and Piz brings us up, is not just the fact is like you see a trailer and you go, okay, I don't want to see it. It doesn't look good, appealing to me. Then it's like, well, why? It's almost like you have to go through some sort of Sigmund Freud therapy. It's like, well, why doesn't it appeal to you? Is it because you're a white man and you don't care about women? Actually, no. I've supported more women in the horror industry. I mean, the horror industry is so much supportive of women. That's one of the things that we've been trying to, like. That's one of the flags we've been waving since the early '80s. It's like it's the most feminist of all the genres, and yet, it never needed to wave its flag like it does today.
Right.
And that's only to try to get the Twitter crowd. And guess what? The Twitter crowd isn't showing up by evidence of all the movies that are bombing now. Even Terminator.
You can't tweet during the movie.
Well, that's the thing that pisses me off. These people that are so high and mighty, they want to say all this crap. They're not practicing what they preach. If you're getting a free screen and you're doing nothing for the film, so shut up. Go pay for it. Go pay for it. And buy my ticket while you're at it. Buy my ticket while you're at it.
Yeah.
Or
Well,
what they'll do is they'll just get the movie theater that pass thing, something like what Lauren has, and then they'll say, see, we may not be paying for that movie, we're sponsoring the whole thing. But I got news for you. You know, we're talking about DVDs and everything going away. Well, I'm telling you, within 10 years, the movie theater experience will be gone. I think it will be maybe niche theaters every once in a while, but this idea of a movie opening wide in 4,000 screens, not going to happen. Fast and Furious 10 is going to open up on Vudu. It's just going to happen that way. It's going to be day and date streaming.
Yeah.
And welcome to the world we live in. And you know what? If it wasn't for the theater crowds being so stupid, I would maybe shed a tear for that. But I used to love going to theaters. I used to run a couple movie theaters. You know what? I've gone to the theaters maybe a handful of times lately, but every time I've gone, I've had the worst experience of my life. I hate the fact that I'm paying to see this when people are so rude and inconsiderate, and I'd rather just watch it at home anyway. And that makes me sad because I do like the movie theater experience. But you know what? I'd rather get rid of it for the greater good, which is watching something peacefully at home.
Well, Cameron, I'll tell you this. I'm fair too. Look, I'm a physical media guy. I love buying my movies. Some of them, yeah, they sit on the shelf, Cameron, and they're decoration. They collect more dust and they don't get watched. But I'm not a hypocrite. I love buying movies, but I'm not going to get pissed off when it goes away. If the movie theater goes away because I don't go there, okay. But because I buy movies and not everybody does, I'm not bitching about it. If it goes away, I swear to God I will carry on. So I just don't care either way about anything. I really don't.
Well,
but I'm not,
Go ahead, Piz. I'm sorry.
We mentioned this. We were talking about this earlier today on Twitter about there's this air of elitism with a lot of blue check mark horror people on Twitter.
right.
And that plays into a lot of this. Well, you're not a real fan, because it's like looking down. They're looking down their nose at everybody else who's not on their same level in the horror world. You know what I mean? Because they write for Bloody Disgusting, or because you know what I mean, they write for Fango. They're better than we are.
Yeah.
Piz, how can you tell somebody you're not a real horror fan for not supporting the latest Blumhouse thing when they themselves work for Blumhouse?
Exactly.
They think we're dumb. They think we're stupid. They think we don't know this crap.
Can we just take? Can I just have a quick detour because I think it's important. There is a problem with all this, all of it, and it's not a solution that any of the blue check marks have an answer for. And that's that when you look at what's going on in film today, and that we're constantly complaining about the remakes, endless sequels, and lack of new properties, it does play into the fact that that's what you get when it becomes a home viewing experience and not a community that exists in the real world.
Mm-hmm.
Star Wars exists as the property it does today because people went to see it in mass in a group setting. It normalized the idea of it as a community. The virtual community, as you see by something like Twitter, is never going to be as strong, impactful, or honest because there'll always be people worrying about, virtue signaling and whatever else. I do think if we lose theaters, and I think Cameron's right, I think in 10 years, except for in major cities and maybe college campuses, they'll be gone. But when we lose them, I worry about what brings the new IPs, the new classic franchises, the new ideas, the new movements in. Will it all just fragment down like music has, where nothing is centralized? There is no breakaway successes except for things that will have very short lifespans. That's a very real possibility. Also, I worry that films are made for the medium they're going to be ultimately exhibited in. So you're not going to pay to make a film look like The Shining if it's going to appear mostly on people's home television screens, which as big as a television screen as you have, you're not going to get the information across necessary for a film like that to be fully enjoyed. So you'll start seeing films being made on a different scale if that is the norm. So what I'm saying is there's repercussions to all these frustrations. And we just have to be careful. I think the real answer is support the good. Make sure you support the good in whatever form. If you don't care about theaters at all and want them to go away, that's your decision. I have no right to tell you what you think. For myself, I still do love movie theaters, and I do think the theatrical experience is important. But there's nothing wrong about supporting the companies that are doing something. If you go into a theater and they actually have ushers, remember them?
No.
That would be worth an additional $5 a ticket for me. Absolutely. If they took the bare safeguards, I wouldn't have a problem with a couple more commercials before the movie. So I think what we have to do is make a strong statement to these companies about what we demand. And maybe we can make the change that will help all of us, and we'll still get films as beautiful as The Shining or the original Alien. Because the original Alien would not be made for the home video market. It would not be made for the home video market.
And everyone would be complaining about it being too dark. Let me just say something real quick about, because since I used to run a couple movie theaters, you know why there's no more ushers? Because people kept picking up after themselves. I don't mean trash the theater, but I mean if you just let your drink be by your seat or your popcorn bag be by your chair instead of spitting sunflower seeds all over the place, then the ushers would have something to do and the kids wouldn't be sent home. And that's, I mean, and in fact, when I was an usher as a teenager, one of my favorite things to do was go in and clean up after the Disney movies, because I used to make $20 in between every show, all the quarters all over the floor. It was amazing.
What's the fastest thing you saw? Sorry.
What was that, Stingray?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I know we've had a few guys that have worked in theaters here. What's the grossest thing that you saw when you were cleaning up?
Don't tell me you saw a condom in there before.
No, I mean I've caught people having sex in the theater, and usually I didn't care. But I mean the grossest thing that's ever happened and is that I caught with a friend of mine a guy trying to molest a kid in the bathroom.
Oh
man.
God have mercy. That sick son of a bitch.
And yeah, so that was. I mean, that was a whole thing, but yeah. So he got arrested and all that, and the kid wasn't affected, but it came close. It came close. We caught him in the bathroom with the mirror underneath the stall, looking at the kid and stuff like that. So,
Jeez.
Oh God.
yeah.
Jeez.
So, and then there's sometimes there'd be certain people that would be high on drugs and not know where they were, and then start like just peeing in the middle of the theater. But when I was 18, nobody wanted to work the late shift, and I worked at the art house theater, so we had Rocky Horror every Friday and Saturday nights. So I had to go into the theater and make sure that everyone behaved. And most of the time, I just let them do whatever they were going to do, as long as they weren't too crazy. Most of the time, they weren't, but yeah, so I was on that shift from 12 to 2 for like a year. It was horrible. Rocky Horror every Friday and Saturday night, me with the damn flashlight.
I know Raiho's got some stories, but I don't think he's here he comes. I think he's coming.
What's up?
Guys,
my kid woke up sick there.
What was the grossest thing you saw while working at a theater?
Oh God. The grossest thing I saw. There was a guy. Well, I say a guy because it was always in the men's bathroom, and we never identified who did it or whatever. But we had a character that we called the poop Nazi, and he would go into the bathroom stalls and he would shit and he would write like hateful shit, like racist stuff on the stalls in his poop.
It's called cave painting. There's actually a term for it.
Well, whatever it's called, yeah. Cave painting, I guess.
It happens a lot in retail.
Yeah, like super disturbing stuff would be written on the stalls, and he struck maybe 2 or 3 times in the span of the time I was there, and you would like, I never, luckily, like we didn't have to clean it up. If it happened, we would close the stall off and kind of, and like, you know, somebody else would have to deal with it in a way or whatever. But it would be just the most disturbing shit written on the walls. Like, I don't want to repeat any of it, but there's a reason we call him the poop Nazi.
Right, since you worked at a theater, let me just ask you, just because I need someone to share my pain here.
Yeah.
One of the most painful things you'll ever experience is when the popcorn starts popping and you have forgotten to put the lid down, and you have to go in there and put the lid down, and the kernels jump out with the oil and latch onto your skin like,
to this day
alien.
I have scars
yeah
on my arms.
It's horrible.
That I could point out, like, yeah, absolutely. You're not paying attention. You don't drop the top, and all of a sudden the kernels are coming out, and you got to reach in and just slam it closed.
Yeah,
and it's just, oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's you'll, and then when they get onto your skin, it's like Night of the Creeps or something like that. It
doesn't matter. You like wipe it off, but like it still burns, like as if it was like fresh. It's that butter gets into you or something, or whatever that's called, or whatever it is. It's like crazy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Jeez.
Yeah.
But
I'll tell you one thing. I don't care how entertaining a movie is. There is no better show than in the lobby of the theater with the staff of a movie theater in between the shows. The shit that goes down, the affairs that happen between the popcorn girls,
the most dramatic place I've ever worked.
Managers. Oh yeah. People getting banged in the projection room. Oh yeah.
Everything. All that, everything you said more. Yeah, that was the most dramatic place, and like everybody really clicked. Like it was the funniest thing. But like I had lots of friends outside of the theater, but like when I was working at the theater, it was almost like I became part of the cult. Like, and all of a sudden you're like spending all your time with the people in the theater, like, you know what I mean, the people you worked with, and yeah, like you said, like there's people, like, yeah, there's all kinds of crazy relationship stuff going on, and like
you're giving out free passes to the cute girls. Come on.
Yeah, absolutely, like all this different stuff, and you're just
but you know what though, I had a warehouse, you know, the music store warehouse, movie store. They used to trade with us, so we would give them free tickets, and they would let us walk out with $100 worth of DVDs.
Oh wow! I didn't have that. That's a great deal. I did not have that deal.
So every Tuesday we go down there. Here you go. Here's your free passes for your staff. Okay, and we go get all the latest releases.
We did have
that is straight up crime.
Yeah, absolutely. We did have a thing with one of the music stores for a while where you could there were certain select CDs you could go in and get, but it was like a legit thing. But we could go in and pick. Some of the stuff sucked, but you could get them free just because it was like you worked at the theater. And there was other stuff too, like different fast food places. Like I think Wendy's had something. I remember a couple of times, like I would go to a movie on my off hours or whatever, I could go for free, and I would show up with like chicken nuggets and chicken strips and shit like this. And people were like, what are you doing? I'm like, it's the Wendy's promo. I get it for free. You know what I mean? It was like a weird cross promos and stuff like that. But
all right, last question for you, Ryo, before we probably take another barbecue question. What is one or two movies that played at your theater that you literally have now sat through, let's say 300 times? I know for me it was at least 4 Weddings and a Funeral, Romeo and Juliet, and Scream. Scream was probably 300 times because, you know, it was just between that and all the midnight shows and all that stuff.
I started working at the theater when the second Harry Potter movie came out. And every time one of those came out, we would have it on, like we had 10 screens, and we would have it on 2 every night, and then possibly 4 in the daytime. And I was mostly ushering at the time, so I was sweeping and checking the milers, checking the screens, checking to make sure people weren't like fucking in the theaters and stuff like that. And so I would see these movies constantly. So like I remember that second Harry Potter movie, like it's ingrained in my brain. The Matrix sequels.
Yeah.
I can't tell how many times I like it, because it was so popular, like, and it would play every night on 2 or 3 screens, and you would go in to sweep up, and those soundtracks are like burned into my brain sometimes.
Oh,
Just like when I watch the movies now, even, and the credits start to roll, it's almost like PTSD or something like that.
You get the nerves to start sweeping.
Yeah, you all of a sudden
No,
just
but you
get up and start
hear,
sweeping.
I can still hear the laughter of an audience when I watch a movie that I know, because the audience would laugh at the same parts every night, right?
Yeah.
So every time I watch the movie, I still hear the audience. That's ingrained in my brain. And for those of you who grew up in the digital age, Ryo knows this. Nothing's worse besides the popcorn kernels than getting a what they called a film wrap in the up in the projection room, where like something like Titanic would like start caving in the middle, and so you'd have to sit up there and just manually like move the damn projector or
those things I can't express. Like, I tell people about it and no one gets it, but you'll get it, Cam. The movies are so big when they take them out of the canister and they put them on the platter and they add in all the trailers and everything. These things are like these things they put them on. They were called platters. They're 6 feet. These huge metal like cylinders they would put them on. And sometimes you'd have a show that would be in theater 1 because that was a decent theater, but at the 9 o'clock show, it would be in theater 10. I can remember how many times where I had to take one of those things and run with it.
Yeah, but have you ever had one drop out from the middle of you? And it's like, you know, those movies where people look up to the sky, the heavens, and start screaming. You will never hear anybody yell that loud than when a 3-hour movie starts dropping from the center of your platter all over the floor.
And and all you can do, like you said, is you're what I would do is like hold it. I would pick a spot that I could kind of put my arm like this and hold it and just kind of feed it. Because you wanted to keep it level with the thing, and oh my god,
that's 24 frames a second, ladies and gentlemen.
These things were, just enormous, and like even just getting the film canisters, like you'd get them on Thursdays or whatever for the shows on Fridays. They'd come in, and these things would be. I remember it was like a job, like somebody would like take an hour to get them upstairs.
Now tell me the truth, Ryo. Tell me the truth. Before you got married, did you ever tell a girl like, "Hey, I got this movie. You want to see a couple days earlier?" Oh yeah.
We would get the midnight screenings and some of them were ridiculous. Like I remember X-Men, like we saw that a few days earlier, the first X-Men movie. You know what I mean? It was some of them were like when I look back at them, I'm like, oh my god, some of the movies. But Cold Mountain was one.
that movie critic Jeremy Johns. That's how he got started. Is he was a projectionist, and so he would watch the movies like 3 days before they came out and have his review out before anybody else's review came out. And that's how he got big on YouTube. So.
Yeah, and if I thought about it at the time, I would have. Yeah, I guess YouTube wasn't a thing, but I would have written them up. Yeah. But like we would, 2 or 3 days before. Austin Powers, the first one. Trying to think of some. Whenever a new movie would come through, it was kind of like there was some kind of hype building behind the scenes. They'd be like, "Give it a watch," and then we would go out and tell our friends, and you know what I mean. It was kind of like an added advertisement in a way, because we'd go out and tell.
And you could destroy a movie overnight at your theater and just be like, "Do not come Friday night. The movie's terrible."
Which I definitely did with a few. Cold Mountain comes to mind.
That's what I did with Land of the Dead.
Yeah. But yeah, oh my god, there's so many tales from the theater with Cam and Ryo.
Oh my god, we should do a separate video just on this.
Yeah,
we used to have this guy that have you ever seen where somebody can shit their pants and like shake the turd out a leg of their pants?
I have seen that on the internet now, but I don't know how the fuck that works. Yeah, but I saw like a video where a guy was
like
walking.
Magic, but there was like one dude there. I'm assuming it was the same guy that was doing it all the time.
It's amazing
the right consistency.
The disgusting things that people do, like I can't even imagine doing these things in public. But people they go and they. I've cleaned way too many times.
I worked in a convenience store that had tanning beds.
Oh wow!
And there was
wait, stop,
that's
stop,
convenient.
Stop. I need an explanation of that shit right there.
I don't know. It was a convenience store that also had tanning beds. And
this was in Kentucky, right?
This is Kentucky.
No more. That's fine.
Well, video stores here also rented tuxedos.
No, come on.
Yes. Yes.
That's
Did
interesting.
you have to rewind the tuxedo?
There was a video there was a video store here that used to rent like prom dresses and tuxedos and wedding dresses and all that jazz. But anyway, there was a guy. There was every so often, if you were cleaning out the one of the tanning bed rooms, you'd find a garbage can in there full of piss.
Oh my God.
Now keep in mind the bathroom. The person could have walked out of this door and then walked 2 feet into the bathroom. No, can't do that. Can't do that. So they would pee in the garbage can. So we decided to play detective, and after every person that visited the tanning bed, we'd run in there and check to see if there was pee in the garbage can. And we narrowed it down to one guy. And the owner of the convenience store confronted him. And he never came back again. But, I mean, it's like, dude, you're 2 feet. Oh, and you also had to clean those freaking things after everybody, too. Because nobody cleaned their tanning bed after they left.
Oh, man.
So you would have this, and everybody, most people also use them completely naked. Mm-hmm. So you would have this greasy body print on the bottom of the tanning bed, and you could tell if they were laying on their back or if they were laying on their stomach. And
So the remarkable thing here is that
was it fun?
Years later, this is the same reason Orc isn't on the show anymore.
Yeah, well, pretty much. Yeah. You nailed it.
Was he lying naked on his back on the show or what?
Pretty much.
Pissing in garbage.
Pissing in garbage cans. Yeah. But I don't.
Talk about demonetized.
I don't know. That was, just a normal looking dude, as I recall, and he just liked to pee in the garbage can.
I don't know. It's always the unassuming ones. I always pictured the poop Nazi as just the most normal dude on the planet, and then he just got in that bathroom and he was just like,
he's probably like the dean of the local university.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean? Like
here's my manifesto.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Well, I mean, just think, this person has to touch feces, like they're holding like a marker.
Mm-hmm. But it wasn't exactly. It was fairly legible. I can't imagine how they did it so well. Really.
Yeah. Exactly.
It must have been like a fairly decent Duke, I can't even imagine it when I think about it sometimes. But
great penmanship.
If you're gonna go through that much trouble, good penmanship would be the minimum.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, but it have a better message than fuck.
Yeah.
So and so.
Well,
inward.
The best part is he went back to his seat and started sharing the group.
That's the best
again. part.
Did he just wash up and keep watching the movie? I always wonder. I have so many questions. I wish that somehow I could meet this person and just, total anonymity, but I just have to know.
No, keeps that fingernail brush with him wherever he goes.
Put out a tweet, Ryo. Just say, listen, if you frequented this movie theater between this year and you did,
and you wrote on the stalls with poop, please contact me. I need to know. I need to see you.
I've never worked at a theater, but one of the things that really disgusted me that I count toward a really bad movie-going experience, and I do plan on doing a video detail, because your idea of a bad movie-going experience is the girl on Snapchat in front of you. Mine is much different, and I've got crazy theater stories. But there was a guy sitting behind me, like a couple of people over, and he was chewing tobacco, and every minute I would just hear and splat on the floor.
He didn't even bring a cup.
He didn't even bring a cup.
I was at a hockey game the other day, and I noticed the guy had a coffee cup and another cup, and I was like, this guy's chewing, and he was, but at least he had a cup.
No, this guy didn't even bring a cup. This guy could not wait 90 minutes to get a chew in, nor could he bring in a cup or get up and go to the concession stand to ask for a cup. He just spit in the floor, and he chewed the entire time. The smell was atrocious. I just imagined a blob like sliming ooze slurp.
And didn't like going to theaters. Didn't want to go. Was kind of intimidated to go, And now that he's going, it's kind of interesting to see you kind of pulling back, going, I don't really love theater experience. Is he noticing this stuff too? Does he ever say to you, Piz, this is here anymore? Or is it mostly you just kind of feeling it right now?
Well, actually, on just 1 second, because the stream abruptly.
It just came back.
It abruptly ended, and it just came back up. I think I'm not sure what the issue is with the stream. Let's see if everything's
He's cutting in and out here.
EJ, let us know. Is it okay?
Yeah, it cut out for a second, and it's back, but it seems like it's struggling.
Are you using OBS, Piz? Because it did this to me yet last night because I was streaming and everything was fine. Didn't lose internet, but I just got 0 kilobytes per second, whatever, on OBS.
Yeah, OBS is kind of. Yeah, OBS is having some issues here. Apparently, it's dropping frames like crazy.
Yeah. Last night, perfect internet. I know my internet was good, but all of a sudden, boom! I just went from like 3,000 to 0.
And we're apparently out. We're apparently out again.
It's bounced back on here on my phone, but
I'm seeing it now.
Yeah, I think it's
It
better.
bounced back
it wasn't
up.
a second ago.
Okay, yeah, we're back, but it's
Piz,
apparently
I had
running
to, I closed out the
Goddamn
program and went
Ukrainians,
live
stop
again.
it.
Yeah.
We're back up, I think. I'm in the. I think
Marv
we're back. Are we back?
DJ, let us know.
Yeah, we're back.
It's fine now.
DJ says we're fine now.
Okay, we're fine now. Okay,
I'll keep an eye on it here.
okay.
Damn
Hopefully.
Tickle McBiscuits. He's doing it too.
Okay, yeah, okay. So OBS is working a lot better now. Okay, I think we're back, and I think we're stable.
Okay.
Looks like we're back and we're stable. Sorry about that, guys. I think we're back and stable.
You just missed us talking about shit, so. They're talking about shit again.
I think we need to answer another BBQ Network question to purge ourselves of the shit. So let's go with what do you want most from a 3 Men and a Baby Part 3?
Mustaches.
Steve
Oh.
Guttenberg back on the big screen.
The Goot.
I want a CGI baby running around talking.
Like,
I want
real.
Look Who's Talking Now and 3 Men and a Baby to merge.
Everyone's always talking about the Ghostbusters and the passing the torch. Where's our Police Academy modern film where they passed the torch? I mean, I know they did that in Citizens on Patrol, but come on. I mean, if we could get people like Gutenberg and stuff like that back on the big screen, I would pay to see Police Academy, new version of it.
Have you seen the Goot lately? Like he's
No.
used him. Like,
Not
he's
since
a big roided up-
Veronica Mars season 3. I haven't seen
He
him.
is a big roided up machine now.
Oh, really?
Goose?
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah,
They should
Google
definitely do a Police Academy then.
him. Check him out.
But have you seen Goldberg from the Mighty Ducks?
Oh shit! I saw him the other day.
Oh.
He broke into somebody's house. That is some shit.
I did
I
see
wonder
that.
why they didn't call him
Incredibly
back
sad.
to the Disney Plus series.
And
Oh my
Emilio
gosh.
Estevez is heading up this new Mighty Ducks show. It's like, my God, I know he's been directing and stuff, but my goodness, it'll be weird to see him again.
Yeah, I kind of hope that they like even get like Conway back. I envision that Banks has made it to the NHL at least. I've got so many questions. I got to see this movie. I got to see the show, I guess. But yeah, Goldberg will not be appearing, I don't think.
I hate that
holy
for him, man.
shit.
It's terrible. I mean,
Yeah,
you
he
look at
looked
that guy,
bad.
it's like, my God. I mean, just the
Oh.
claws that drugs have on people. It's so sad.
Don't do meth. Just don't do
Yeah,
meth.
yeah.
He looks like he's 100 years old. I mean,
He does,
whatever
yeah.
he's doing, he looks horrible. I was like, God, man, that Goldberg, he was one of the funny ones.
He's my
you know?
age. Like he's around there anyway. He looks, you're right.
Yeah.
He looks like he's like 60.
At least
God
60,
almighty,
yeah.
man.
Yeah,
Heartbreaking.
totally.
I don't know what I want
Again.
out of a 3 Men and a Baby Part 3. I mean, that's like, what do I want out of a Godfather 4? You know what I mean?
I want Bridget Fonda and Andy Garcia together. Is what I want.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
At one point, we almost got it with Stallone.
That was Godfather 3.
I want to see Stallone's Edgar Allan Poe with Stallone as Edgar Allan Poe. I want to see.
I don't know. After Jeffrey Combs' performance, I can't see anyone else.
That screenplay was apparently like unbelievably long.
Oh, I mean,
So if you
anything
ever-
deserves it.
If you ever got the Stallone Poe movie, you are getting a Stallone Poe movie.
Nice. That's what I want to see. Cameron, you were actually asking me a really good question when we started to have these issues. You want to go ahead and...
Yeah. So a few shows ago, or I don't know, a while ago, on the air, I can't remember. You had expressed that your brother Jeremy, for a long time, was nervous or intimidated about going to the movie theaters. And I just thought it was interesting that now that he's going on a more regular basis with you, that you yourself are pulling away from the theater experience. And I'm just curious if he is noticing you kind of like the way you feel. Is he feeling the same way you are, or is he just kind of having the time of his life and you're the one noticing this stuff?
Yeah, he just has the time of his life whenever he goes to the movies. But now
I wish I could be like that.
He's very selective about what he'll watch. So I mean, he won't just go watch, like, you know, if I said, Jeremy, do you want to go watch The Turning, or, you know what I mean, the new Grudge movie? No, you know, he'd shoot that down immediately. But he really wanted to go watch Star Wars, but right around that time it came out, I was sick, and I've been sick like the whole freaking month of January. So I mean, that just kind of, and Jeremy now doesn't even want to go watch it because we've missed it. You know what I mean? So he's like, you know, he doesn't even want to go watch it now. He does want to go watch Birds of Prey, which, I mean, that's not like a movie I'm dying to see, but I'll go watch it with him.
Now, do you show him these trailers, or is he on the internet himself, like finding this stuff and then coming to you with it?
He's on the internet himself. The internet himself. Yeah. The last thing we watched was Blade Runner on the big screen, and he really got a kick out because he loves Rutger Hauer. So he got a big kick out of that. Like, as soon as, like, the first time Rutger Hauer walked on screen, I looked over at him. He just had like a big grin on his face, and he was rocking back and forth. You know what I mean? And then, like, the funniest thing too, like the scene where Rutger Hauer and the other guy, I forget his name, they're pulling. It's the actor who played Lo Pan in Big Trouble in Little China. And he's got like these tubes attached to him, and they're just pulling these tubes out of him, off of his clothes. Jeremy was cracking up during that scene because Rutger Hauer was being mean, and he was just dying laughing that entire time. And I thought it was so funny, like just laughing out loud at that scene. But anything that involved Rutger Hauer in that movie, he was so on board with. But yeah. But no, he's very selective, and I do try to go watch everything that he wants to go watch, because for many years the idea of like sitting somewhere quietly and still for more than 5 minutes was like torture for him.
What was the first one? The recent one, the one that turned it?
Suicide Squad is what turned it.
Really?
Yeah.
I remember that, man. I remember that was a big deal. I was so happy about that.
For some reason, I don't know what it was. He said I know what it was. He has a thing for Margot Robbie. Is the thing,
but it's also wall to wall, like, good songs. So it's like you can kind of sing along with it. You know what I mean?
Music too. Good music.
Yeah.
So that was the one he wanted to go watch it. He didn't. I didn't ask him. He said he wanted to go watch Suicide Squad, and we went. He said the whole time he loved it, and I was shocked. And then that just opened up a whole new world for him.
Wow.
So.
That's cool, man. That's
good. It was Suicide Squad, and I know Suicide Squad's not a great movie, but to me, I mean,
it's an Oscar winner of his.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
It is. Yeah, it actually is. You're right. You're right. So I mean, Suicide Squad's got a special place in my heart because of that. But you know, it was the Suicide Squad, or I think it was more Margot Robbie as.
That's understandable.
Yeah. So.
They sold that entire movie on her getting dressed in the prison yard.
Seriously, that was in like every trailer.
That's why I watched it.
They've sold that entire series now. Whatever they're gonna have on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the new movie is called Birds of Prey, or the Fantabulous Emancipation of.
Okay, Ryo, you know for a fact that ain't getting on the marquee on a Thursday night.
I was actually surprised to see tonight there was a commercial came on, and they just put it in the corner Like I was actually surprised even to see it there. I thought there's no way they're gonna actually put that on there, but they did actually have all the text on there. I was like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
They could literally have ended that, just had the entire running time of that movie be all the music, and just like Margot Robbie getting dressed on the prison yard. It would be like Howling 2's ending, but it would be just they would have made the same amount of money and not had to pay Will Smith.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. You know, Jeremy likes bad girls. He liked Dr. Poison in the Wonder Woman movie. Like who's Dr. Poison? He was like Dr. Poison, Dr. Poison, Dr. Poison. Just talked all about Dr. Poison. So he likes bad girls, I guess.
There you go.
I have a film I could send him then.
Heads up! I got the 3-hour cut of Doctor Sleep. It's very worth watching.
Oh, really?
If you like the movie, yeah. And it's 30 minutes longer, but you know, I mean, you feel like you get more of a real film. It has a lot more breathing to it.
Where was it mostly cut from? What were the big cut? Like?
It's mostly the first 30 minutes and the last 30 minutes. They kind of.
Oh, see, I had a feeling they cut a lot out of the Overlook stuff. I had a feeling they did.
Yeah, that was really the only problem I had with it. Was the ending.
Yeah, me too.
So just so you know, it's 30 minutes longer. Unfortunately, the 4K disc only has the theatrical cut, but the Blu-ray has the director's cut. So,
what were they thinking?
You got to buy both.
I don't know.
What were they thinking there? That's weird.
4K is a really weird format for sales. In parts of the country, it does really well. In other parts, it does nothing. So they probably put the thing they thought would increase sales most widest.
Like honestly, I'm still so afraid that format is just going to die. I mean, it feels like it's already dead.
It's going to.
I mean, soon. I mean,
absolutely
very
going to
near
die.
future.
You're right.
That's why I haven't invested in it. And I've got like 2 discs. But
when I go to the store, like the Blu-ray section is like it's like the 4K. There's like maybe 6 selections at a time.
Mine's gone.
Like, yeah,
it's gone. The only thing they have is the new movie that comes out. Like I got Zombieland, and it's funny. I was like, Christian, just get the damn Blu-ray for Zombieland too. I got the 4K. I thought it looked really good, and I compared it with the Blu-ray. It's funny. I'll notice, and I'm blind as a bat, but I will notice differences on some newer movies and not so much on older movies. Like it's weird. Like for some movies, I'll actually notice a difference, but other movies, I'm like, this looks the same. So I don't know.
It's an upscale transfer is all it is. I mean,
exactly.
It does upscale. If it's upscaling my Blu-rays a little bit, I tell myself that I can live with it to help.
Yeah.
My Walmart.
I got the player now. So, I mean, you know what I mean, Jay? Like I got the sumbitch. I may as well just use it.
Well, sure, yeah, I get that. I haven't taken the dive into buying the player yet.
My Walmart is the total opposite. They've got a lot of 4Ks.
That's good. I wish I could have a selection of old movies. Like I want to go get that Apocalypse Now, and I go to Walmart. I'm like, I got my player. I'm going to get Apocalypse. No, they don't have it. Yeah. So
how much was your player,
crap.
Christian? Just out of
I got it. They had one. It was retailed almost $300, but it was one that had all the streaming services on it, and it says that it upscales Netflix, upscales this, and they marked it down. They marked it down like 50%, so I paid like 150, maybe $160. But they have one that's just the player you can get that doesn't have the. But I'm like, look, if I'm gonna go all the way. I'm gonna get the one that has the streaming stuff. And when I watch Netflix, damn it looks pretty damn good. I had to go get that special HDMI cable for it.
If you buy your 4K player at Best Buy, they usually will throw in 3 or 4 titles with the price.
Oh wow!
So if you pay $250, it's not like you get to walk the store and pick 4 titles. They give you like 6 titles to choose from, and it's usually like 2001. I mean, like titles you'd want on 4K, But that's where I would suggest looking first because you get free discs with it.
And the other thing too about the 4K players is Xboxes. You like get an Xbox?
I don't have a 4K TV, but I have an Xbox One S.
Right.
It does 4K, but
the next generation of video game systems are not including discs, though.
Yeah.
So
the new Xbox, I think it has a disc drive.
Yeah, because of the fallback.
But there is a there is a budget model that does not.
Yeah, that's true.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, but the new one coming out, the Xbox One X, if you see it, there's one model and it does have a disk drive. But I anticipate that they're going to come out with, and I'm still waiting for them to release it. And they're just going to come out at some point. They're going to come out with like a $150 box like this that you just hook up to your TV, and it has a hard drive, and it's got the internals to stream, and all the load will be on the server. It'll just stream to the box, and you'll play your games on it. I'm still waiting for them to release it. I think there's 2 more models they're going to release eventually, but that tower, the 1X tower or whatever, that's going to be like the top of the line. It'll play discs, but like even me, like I like having discs. I have a ton of Xbox One games. I have 2 that are actually on disc. Halo 5 and Resident Evil 2.
What I like about the discs, if I don't like the game, I'll sell it. If you digitally download the game and it sucks,
and that's the same with everything.
Screwed,
and I agree. It's just I don't buy, like, if I get a game that's digital or whatever, I get it at a deep discount because they sold it for super cheap on the site or something like that. Like I got Resident Evil 7 the other day for $10 or something like that. You know what I mean? And then they have that Game Pass thing, which I have right now for super cheap, where I can just download anything and play it. That's going to be the future, really. It's going to be a Game Pass model.
I heard. Is it confirmed or denied that the PlayStation 5 is going to be able to play PlayStation 1 games?
They're saying it's going to be backwards compatible with every title that you could own.
Beautiful.
That's what they're saying.
Oh, that's
but
cool.
The PS2 could play PS1 games. But
right.
The thing about the PS1 was, at the time, like the Nintendo 64 could play at 480. The PlayStation actually played at 240, but it had a buffering for video that tricked it to look like a 480 game. So when you have it, like if you put on your TV right now and you hook up a PS2 to it and you put that PlayStation 1 game in it, it won't look quite right. And it's because the lowest it can output is 480. But those games really, they were a 240 with like a video RAM kind of a thing that allowed for a different look to it. So PlayStation 1 games, unless you download them and they're emulated, probably won't look quite right. But you technically what they're saying is you can put any game in that disk drive and it'll play it out. Wait and
that's
see.
Why I stopped buying them, because when they stopped becoming backwards compatible, I was like, I don't want it.
It's interesting though, because PlayStation 3 had a hard time because PS1 wasn't so bad for it to work, but PS2 is a whole different ball of wax. What's going to happen now though is this PS4 or PS5. PS4 games are going to run the same architecture as PS5, so it's going to be no problem for them to just completely backwards compatible with the hardware. What will end up happening with PS1, PS2, PS3 is, if they do PS3, you drop the disc in, it's basically just your ticket to the buffet for you to download that game onto your hard drive and play it emulated in the system, which is fine with me. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but you're actually not playing it off the disc. It's just saying, yes, verified, this is a PlayStation 1 disc, you own this game.
100%,
here's the download file. Will movies go that way is my question, though. Like, if you have a 4K or a Blu-ray of something and you pop it into one of these things, will it ever read it as like a key to downloading it to another service like Vudu or something like that, you know?
It hasn't gotten there, and I remember when the digital download thing started hitting. Like I was like waiting for somebody to say, "Here's the service where you put your disc in and you add it to your library, your digital library." But and it's the same, I guess, for video games too, but not as much. But they really think of them as 2 distinct products. Like, yeah, you can buy the disc that comes with the digital version or whatever, but like a lot of times they're like, no, if you want this movie digitally, you got to go buy it.
I think Voodoo offers that service through Walmart.
They do.
They did, but not in Canada. We never.
You can scan your receipt, and it's already on your Voodoo.
Yeah, like I heard about that, but like I'm waiting for you pop it into your disk drive, maybe on your PC or something like that, and it registers it and says you now have it in your like Google Play or something like that. Like that would be something that would be a game changer for me, like to get a lot of digital stuff. Like I would start considering it more. Although I've just started, like I only have 5 digital movies to my name. I have all kinds of Blu-rays and stuff like that I bought that had it. I just never bothered doing it, which is a waste. But now I've started bothering.
Yeah, I'm a big, I know, you know, I'm a huge physical media person too, but I love streaming because when I don't have the internet, great, then I can pop in my discs and I can watch the extras, whatever like that. But I don't want to own every season of Fresh Off the Boat on DVD. You know what I mean? I'd rather watch it in HD streaming, and or Project Runway. These shows, I don't want 24 seasons of Project Runway sitting on my shelf. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But streaming's fine, and a lot of times I'll buy it streaming when it's cheap or on sale, and when I own the disc, because like Buffy or Angel, like Piz, I know this, like I don't want to take those discs out like every time out of the box and ruin the box. I'd rather just watch it streaming, and then if I want to watch the commentary, fine, I'll pop out the disc. But it saves the wear and tear of a lot of this stuff for me.
I went to watch some X-Files the other night. You cannot stream X-Files in Canada right now. Like it's come off every service.
Canada sucks.
It's something happened with Canada sucks. Something happened with when it aired in Canada. It aired on like one of our broadcasting channels, CTV, and I don't know if they didn't make a deal for streaming or something. And when it came off Netflix, nobody picked it up. Like they didn't get it for their service either. They have Crave, it's called. So no one's got it. And that's fine by me. I've got every season. But like I went to the other night, I was like, I just want to watch some X-Files, like laying in bed. I couldn't, you know what I mean? Oh. So I had to go down and put it in a player and sit down and watch it. And that's ridiculous. I love having it. I'm super happy to have it, but it would have been really nice to just been like Netflix.
Yeah.
Throw that, you know what I mean? Like I the last time I watched it pretty much entirely on Netflix. I just queued it up and kicked back and threw it on. So it has its moments. Convenience is nice, but
if you can,
I'm telling you, once Scream Factory or these places like don't have to commit to a disc format and just can put all their extras on a streaming channel and all their commentaries on, that's it. I mean, they would. I mean, imagine if you didn't have to buy every single one. You just subscribed, $10 a month to their channel, and you got every disc, every commentary, every extra.
Well, there could be a lot more room in my horror room. That's for sure. But Lauren, you might have said this, and it was so freaking true. If it wasn't for like streaming, like Shudder, like how else would we have gotten that insanely amazing, in my opinion, Creepshow show? That wouldn't have just happened. Who would have besides Shudder? Who would have paid for that? Who would have paid for that? You know what I mean? So I think Shudder. I love Shudder because of that. I don't think streaming's the enemy. I really don't. To me, they coexist in my life perfectly. Perfectly.
They are the modern video store. But, Piz, Steak Sauce has a question I think we should actually throw around the panel.
Sure.
Yeah, so do you think there's been a noticeable drop in rewatchability in movies from the last several years from theater to home media? If so, what do you think is the reason for that?
Yeah, I actually had that one up in the queue, as a matter of fact.
What was that again?
Do you think there's been a noticeable drop in rewatchability of movies in the last several years from theater to home video? If so, what do you think the reason is for that?
I don't think so.
You're talking about people not watching it at home once it comes out?
No, I think he's specifically saying personally, do we find that newer films are less rewatchable?
Honestly, I think so, as a matter of fact, because I mean, even movies, that I've loved that have come out recent, like It Follows, for instance. I love that movie to death. I bought the Blu-ray release, and then I bought a Steelbook Blu-ray release of it, and I don't know if I've watched either one. No, I have. I watched the Blu-ray. Yeah. I watched it like one time, but I don't think as much as I love that movie, I don't think I've gone back and rewatched it.
I think it kind of leans into like what makes you rewatch a movie.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like, for instance, like my wife and I will sit down and watch something, and occasionally we'll watch something new, but a lot of times we'll go back to something we loved from the 80s or the 90s or whatever. And because you know what, time is so precious, and sometimes you just want to relax and not fully engage, and maybe you want to get up and do something and you've seen it a million times, so it becomes radio in the background. I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying that modern films aren't good, but it's hard to know whether a film's rewatchable unless you jump like 10 years later, because sometimes like you don't know what's going to actually be rewatchable until years later. But I mean, I remember in 1994 when Natural Born Killers came out, or Pulp Fiction. I mean, I watched that thing probably 100 times that year.
Yeah.
Both of those films.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah,
That's what I was gonna hit. It was like when a movie's rewatchable. I think, like when I think back to it, it's when I had more time to watch them. And like I watched The Matrix 50 times. I remember when it first came out, like I would watch it. Like friends would come over and I'd throw it on again. Like I just finished watching it, I'd throw it again. Like I had more time, so I watched them. Now I see a movie, I like it. But if I was going to spend some time, like you just hit the nail on the head, if I was kicking back and I was going to relax and I was going to throw on something that I don't care what I'm watching, whatever, like I'm going to gravitate towards something that I know I like. So I like, you know what I mean? Like I think it more leans toward maybe the time period you were growing up when you had more of that free time, the movies you watched then, like you're going to come back to that. We say the 80s and 90s a lot. That's because we grew up in the 80s and 90s. It'll probably shift. It'll shift for the kids now. Maybe they'll be watching the 2000s, whatever. I think it's just a generational thing.
And I think that's what's going to happen with like Scream Factory and stuff is, they've released all the 90s a lot of 90s titles. They're still doing some 80s titles. But pretty soon they're going to start hitting 2003, 2004 titles, and they're going to phase us out, a lot of us, and they'll get the younger kids.
I just think they need to go buy out another. They plundered the MGM vault.
MGM, they destroyed MGM.
They're plundering the Paramount vault now. Let's go to let's see what else can they get. They just need to buy out another vault. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They need to
the
pick
thing
something
is,
niche.
they've got so much competition now. Vestron, Arrow,
Vestron's
Synapse.
not competition anymore though.
They coming back, baby. They coming back.
Hey,
I
I gotta tell you, every title they put out, they did an amazing job with it.
It looks well. I love them. I love how uniform they all look too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was thinking for me though, if it seems like the newer films that I have a lot of rewatch, it's always visually like stimulating stuff. It doesn't have to necessarily be a good movie. I can literally watch 31 any day of the week. I know Rob Zombie. I'm a stupid piece of shit. I can watch Rob Zombie's 31 any day of the week. I look visually, it's really entertaining to me. Hellfest, all the cool colors and stuff. It's so easy. I can watch it any day of the week. But like Hereditary, I don't want to just watch Hereditary every night. It's uncomfortable. You know what I mean? So, and then you can't ever replicate that first time watch with these movies. You can never replicate that. I mean, and not to mention when you got a lot of movies like Paranormal Activity, who the hell's rewatching Paranormal Activity 3 like 6 times? Yeah. It's like, it's a roller coaster ride. You get on the roller coaster, you say you rode it, and then you move on with life, you know?
Well, Rahu made some really good points, and one of them was just having the time to go back and rewatch movies. And, we're a little older in the tooth and have big grown man responsibilities, and so that means you have less time to do those kinds of things. But I was trying to think back over the past 10 years, like what came out that I've just watched and rewatched, and I mean, I've seen Drive like 5 or 6 times. I mean, I love that movie to death, but other than that, I'm trying to think, and I'm kind of drawing a blank. You know what I mean?
So, Piz, I might have a part of the answer there for you. And actually, Steak Sauce actually kind of answered his own question a little bit later, I think. I think we've lost something because we don't have the auteur imprint on films anymore. Everything's feeling like it's a boardroom or a focus group film.
Right.
So it's hard to really find things you really connect with because they're trying to connect with everyone. So when people talk about the great filmmakers, we tend to talk about people from decades ago. I mean, there's exceptions, don't get me wrong, but I think when you find people who want to say, well, my favorite filmmaker today is Wes Anderson, which is not mine, but it's because there's a point of view that gets consistently brought across and you feel like you're experiencing storytelling from a storyteller. There's very little of that left in commercial filmmaking.
Yeah.
I think that might play a really big part of it.
Yeah. I mean, even Tim Burton movies don't feel like Tim Burton movies anymore.
No, they really don't.
But Cam, before you said Natural Born Killers and Pulp Fiction, and both of those, no matter what you think of those films, have very strong visions.
And they came out. Well, what's I was just gonna say, Pulp Fiction. People tend to forget this. Pulp Fiction, Ed Wood, and Wes Craven's New Nightmare opened the same damn day. Think about that. I mean, that's an amazing Friday night at the movies.
Good weekend, yeah.
Yeah.
And I
Really
don't.
amazing.
I mean, when we had just a big weekend like that again, have you guys already touched on the whole thing? I'm sure you have, right? The remake of The Thing and all that.
We brought it up. I was gonna go a little bit more in depth on it once we answer a couple of more of your questions.
Thinking about Paranormal Activity, some of the best scares are only in the trailer, and then they changed it in the movie, and so it's like, I don't know. I'm one of these people that, like, I think trailers are sometimes better than a lot of the movies, and it's because the trailers lie. They show you a movie that does not really exist. I mean, for instance, Rogue One, I think 90% of all of those trailers never were in the movie. And I feel like I think in a way, when that you talk about Drive, that lady from Australia, whatever, sued the studio because she said the trailer lied to her, said made it look like a Fast and Furious movie, and then she went to see it. I don't blame her. I mean, there are movies where it's like you go, I want to see that movie. And I always was a kid disappointed when like a line or a scene wasn't in that. Now whole trailers are made up of scenes that not even in the movie. So they lie to you to get you in the theater.
Yeah.
And I don't. To me, I feel like honestly they really should owe you refunds if more than half of the trailer's not in the movie. I can't stand that shit. Sorry.
I agree.
I think the formative years are a big part of this, like we've talked about a little bit before, but I think all of this comes together into a pretty tight ball of wax here. But remember the last time you were able to fully allow yourself to just engulf yourself in what you just saw and like let it pour over you while you're trying to go to sleep that night after you watched it, and then waking up and putting it back on in the morning and seeing it again. And like you put all that together, that your formative years, you're just coming into your passions. And you also have time for your passions, and you also find those filmmakers that you really connect with and why you connect with them, and it just all comes together. And then all of a sudden you lose a lot of that ability to do some of that, so you just keep going back and playing the old records.
And we're all movie enthusiasts. When was the last time that we really, each of us, had time to find a filmmaker we liked and then literally try to go through their whole their biography, their whole catalog? Directors today don't have a catalog. They have, I remember Roger Ebert used to say, Coppola, Scorsese, all these people, they made 8 or 9 films before they even got noticed. Nowadays, if you don't get noticed with your first film, there is no second film. Mm-hmm. And so it's hard to like get involved in new voices when they don't even have a chance to rev up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, let's take a question from the audience here. Here's an interesting question from Joe Bob Tarhill. He says, to the crew, what are the movies that made you turn it off because they're so awful? What was the last movie you guys remember having just bailing on because it was just so bad?
Ooh. I think this also gets to the time factor. It's like if a movie isn't good and with 20 minutes, it's off.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. I used to never bail on a movie, regardless of how bad it is. These days, I'll give it a grace period of a little bit, and if it's not, hitting on all cylinders for me, I'm done.
And that doesn't mean like it's got to be Fast and the Furious pacing. It just has to hook us.
Yeah, I agree. And I think one of the downsides of streaming is that you have, if I start streaming a movie and it's not, if 15 minutes in, if it's not getting me, I'm done with it.
Yeah.
Now when I rented a movie back in the day on VHS, I watched the whole daggone thing. I don't care if it was bad, it was bad. Now I'm done with it. You know what I mean?
And this ties in with Raiho and the movie theater thing, because I'll tell you, when you had to pay a ticket and go see a movie, it had to be really bad for you to walk out. Really bad. Same thing with renting a movie. You would watch it, even if it was, unless it was really horrible, you would stick and watch it. Now, because you're paying an all-encompassing fee, right? Whether it be Netflix or whatever, or even when you worked at the movie theater, you could just leave or turn it off because you're not paying for that movie. You're paying for the service. Yeah. So it's easier to just turn things off now and not feel bad about it because you're not affecting one thing. You're just going to something else.
I remember the last.
I got 2 movies.
Mine, I've got one that jumps to mind immediately. It was called Pet Graveyard.
Well, Piz, baby, that's on you.
No,
on you,
I
man.
was hoping it was going to be like really, really bad so that it would be fun. It was really, really bad.
that
but-
Asylum version?
You got that from Walmart on that.
No,
the crappy DVD section.
No, they
Yeah,
sent
is
it.
that the Asylum version of
No,
Pet
it's
Sematary?
not a side. Well, pretty much, yeah. No, it was some company. I don't know. They sent me a link to screen it, and the only reason why I said to send it to me because it looked really bad. I was hoping it was going to be so bad that it's kind of entertaining. Like
That's fair.
the artwork was basically made the film look like it's called Pet Graveyard, and there's like a dead cat on it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In a graveyard, and then the movie, the first 20 to 30 minutes of the movie. There's no animals. There's no pets. It's like it has nothing to do with pets or a graveyard. It's like it was so cheap. It was so generic. It was so bad. I just said I'm done. I'm done. I gave it 20 minutes maybe at the most, and I was like I am done.
You remind me of a time I went to a horror convention. It was a Days of the Dead, and we were in the film room watching this movie. And it was me, and actually, it was Justin Beam. I know some of you guys know him.
Oh, yeah.
And we were just looking at each other like, I don't know what we just did here. But the movie was called Dog Dick.
Not.
There was no. I mean, we knew there was no dog dick to be seen, but there was, however, a lady putting her dentures in a jar and throwing them out of the second-story window into the driveway.
Nice.
We don't know why. I don't know how that applies to the movie being called Dog Dick. We were curious, and I would have walked out of that one, but I was glued. I mean, I was hooked because I was waiting to see the dog dicks. Maybe you were waiting for the pet graveyard to happen, and it just hadn't happened yet.
I don't know. It's like they tried to make they were selling it as a Pet Sematary ripoff, but then it had nothing to do with a Pet Cemetery or anything even close. So I was just like, what is this?
I mean, maybe I was waiting for a dog named Dick.
Maybe, I don't know.
Richard.
But that didn't happen anyway.
Ricardo.
Stone, do you remember the last movie you bailed on?
I'm racking my brain. I've only walked out of one movie in my life, and that was Avatar. We're talking theater-wise. That is the only movie in my life I ever paid and that I ever walked out on. I mean, I usually go by the 20 to 30 minute rule. If I don't like it, I'll just bail out. If I'm bored or whatever, I'll move on to something else. I mean, I really try not to bail out on any movie for any reason. But, sometimes you just, sometimes you can only take so much of what you're watching.
Well, and sometimes when you take those deep dives, like back over the holidays, I watched a movie called Mrs. Claus. And the artwork for it looked absolutely awful. It's called Mrs. Claus. It's about a killer Mrs. Claus. And I watched the movie, and I was completely impressed by this film. It was made very cheaply, so you have to forgive some things about it. But as far as the story, as far as the characters, as far as the dialogue, I was like, my God, this is actually pretty freaking good. So yeah, you can't judge a book, you can't judge a movie by its cover art or by its title, but you know what I mean? Yeah. And my buddy AJ, Janman Chronicles says, I recently turned off Slugs after 20 minutes. You are not a real horror fan.
Oh, man. I like slugs.
You are not a true horror fan then. My God. Let's see. Lauren,
you know what the fatal flaw of the movie Slugs is?
that it's not longer?
Salt exists.
Well, no, not those slugs are super powered, man. You can't just pour some salt on them.
Super death metal slugs.
You know what the craziest thing about Slugs is that it is a adaptation of a novel.
Yes, it is. It is. Yep.
No, I'm trying to think. If I sit down to watch a movie at this point, which I'll be honest, I don't do as much as I used to. I usually get through it. I can't think of a time when I've turned off something. I've gotten torn away from movies and had to return to them.
Yeah.
But I kind of, if I'm gonna bother sitting down for it, it's not gonna be something that I'm probably not gonna be able to get through. When I go, when I scan through the streaming titles, unless something really appeals to me, I don't push the button.
You gave Deja Vu only 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Anybody else remember the last movie you bailed on?
I got like 4 of them.
Go for it, man.
I remember, and this was a Netflix one. I think the reason I left the movie In the Tall Grass because I was like, surely they're not just gonna walk into the grass and get lost, and like they were, and I was like, oh, for God's sakes. So I turned.
That's one that I started. I got torn away from, but I have no interest in going back to.
Yeah. A couple more. I'm a big fan of like the myth of Slender Man. I think it's a cool story, and I got that movie, and I bought it. Got the Blu-ray, and I put it on, and I said, Christian, like, what is more important, the next 45 minutes or finishing this movie? I took it out. I was like, I can't do this. This is horrible. It was just bad, just so bad. I finished it, but my heart was broken. I really love Critters. I love Critters a lot, but you know, when the new binge came out, my heart broke because I just thought it was going to be like, you know, it's kind of, you could argue that Critters new binge is like so bad it's good kind of thing. But when Critters Attack came out, I was like, oh my God, we got the lovely Dee Wallace back. This is going to be great. I thought it was a Disney film. It was too light. I've made myself finish it, but I was like, God, this is just heartbreaking. But I guess that really doesn't count if I finished it. But Slender Man and In the Tall Grass was bad. It was a joke, Piz. I'm sitting on a couch by myself. It's like 1 a.m. And I'm like, there's no way they're just gonna like pull over the car and go in the grass and get lost. There's no way. There's no way. And that's what happened. I said, you've got to be effing kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. So I turned it off.
There was another more recent one called Eli that I started and got a few minutes into it and was just kind of like, meh. And then I got pulled away from it and I have no interest in going back.
Yeah. You know, maybe no, it's not good. There's no way. I'm just gonna say maybe it got better. No, it's just...
I totally forgot they made a Slender Man movie. The other day though, I was walking through the mall and I heard these 2 kids, and they couldn't have been more than, let's say, 4th or 5th graders, and they were talking about the Bye Bye Man.
Oh God!
And I'm like, is this like the new Freddy Krueger for kids, the Bye Bye Man?
God, I hope not.
Are we gonna get a sequel to this movie eventually?
That was crap, man.
No,
it may be coming.
Jesus Christ. Here's an interesting question from Borderline 11. Are there any guests you regret meeting at a convention?
Tom Savini.
Wow.
I got him on a bad day. I know that's all I did because people have had great experiences with him, but he was just he was short. He was nasty. I was paying him, and he acted like I was pain in his butt. So yeah,
that's the experience I hear from most people who meet Tom Savini.
Yeah.
The biggest dick that I've ever met at a horror convention is the filmmaker Jack Shoulder.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yep.
He was a dick,
and he wasn't a dick to me.
And I decided not to. Yeah.
He wasn't a dick to me at the convention. It was after the fact, and it really. I'll just tell real quick. So the first Fangoria convention I ever went to was in 2001. I'd always wanted to go, but my grandfather had just died, and I was really sad. And I found out there was going to be one in a few weeks, and they still had front row tickets, believe it or not. And so my wife and I ended up going, and I met Jack Shoulder, and I told him, I said, you know what, I really liked, I obviously I liked The Hidden, but I told him, I said, I really liked, I do like Freddy's Revenge for what it is, and he thanked me this and that, and he said, oh, what are you doing? And I said, oh, you know, I'm just working right now, but, you know, I used to make short films, and I'd like to maybe get back into that. And he goes, oh, you should totally send me a copy of your short films. I'd love to see them. And he was super nice about it. And I was like, okay, great. So I didn't have 2 VCRs, so a friend had to come over and bring his VCR, and I had to, you know, copy the short films over to him. And I sent it to him, and, you know, that was it. And then a few weeks goes by, and I get an email from him. I'm like, oh my God, he actually like responded. And he just tore me I mean, just ripped my films apart. He didn't have to write me back. But like he delighted in writing me like a two-page, essentially a 2-page just attack saying that I'm wasting my time. I should go move on with my life. Blah blah blah.
Oh my god!
And just destroyed me. And just destroyed me. And I was just like, okay. And to be honest, I've never watched one of his films since. Because he didn't have to do that.
Yeah, well, I mean, what was he? I mean, what?
But that's why when I watched that Elm Street documentary, was it Never Sleep Again? And Bob Shaye's on there talking about what a jerk Jack Shoulder can be to people. I was like, yeah, I know it. Okay,
he is a jerk, man.
So I felt really happy that he was coming out with a killer spider movie that year, Arachnid, I think it was, because I was like, that's you SOB. All you had to do was just pretend like, oh, you never got it, or never answer.
Or give you constructive feedback. I mean, it's one thing to give you. Yeah, I mean, if he's saying never do it again, that's not giving you feedback. That's just cutting you down.
The kindest thing he was saying. Like he he called me like a talentless hack and all this stuff. And I'm like, whoa. And I was just like, what the hell is this? I mean, it's like I was appalled.
Yeah, this guy's he's an asshole. This is a guy who like shits on like Wes Craven's
original
first Nightmare on Elm Street openly. Like, dude, come on. I love Nightmare 2, but like you got lucky. Like, let's be honest, you got lucky with that. It's good because it's gay. That I love the movie because of that. You ain't got nothing to do with that.
What's the first movie he did? What's it? Alone in the Dark. I know a lot of people really like that movie. I don't remember a thing about that movie.
I like that.
The Hidden is considered to be his best film, though.
I love The Hidden. I love The Hidden.
I do too. I do like The Hidden.
But yeah, I mean, that's the thing about when you go to a convention is, I mean, they always, what's the old saying? Never meet your heroes or whatever. They'll only disappoint you. So yeah,
most of them have turned out good though. Most of them.
Yeah, I was sitting here trying to think like who do I regret meeting, and I don't regret meeting anybody. Like just about everybody's been cool. You know what I mean? I mean, there's been a couple of exceptions, and but for the most part, everybody's been cool.
I'll tell you something messed up, Piz. I don't even think I ever told you this. They had a Friday 5 deal, and I was excited to meet Tom Morga, and he was the nicest guy, and he looked aggravated though. I was like, Tom, what's going on, man? You cool? And he goes, well, I'm a little pissed off, to be honest with you. I said, what's going on? He says that jackass Dick Wieand is signing pictures of me with his name on it. And I was like, what are you talking about? Yeah, he's using pictures of me in the movie and signing his name on it. And I was like, oh, that's kind of messed up, is it?
You know what's really messed up about that? You know what's really messed up? Because you hear this in a couple different actors.
Mute him. He's going to trash Far Pop.
Wait a second. Here's the thing. They don't own those fucking pictures. The studios own all those promotional materials. So they all need to get a grip. Like if someone else is making money and you're making money, they didn't cost you any money. They didn't. That's just like drama that the whole scene doesn't need.
I was at a Fangoria convention where the two Jasons from Friday the 13th 2 got into a fist fight in the hallway, and Ryan Rodney had to break it up.
See, I wish I would have seen that.
I've heard some great stories from like Steve Dash, like completely destroying just ripping Warrington Gillette a new asshole.
Well, here's the thing. When Steve Dash got back on the convention scene, Warrington Gillette left the convention scene. Now that Steve Dash has passed away, Warrington Gillette is back on the convention scene.
Oh yeah, he's back.
Yeah, he's back
with Steve Dash picks.
With probably Steve Dash picks. Yeah.
Well, that cat's out of the bag now. I got to meet Steve right before he passed.
Yeah,
right before he passed.
Yeah, I met him. I think a couple of years before he passed. But yeah, sad. Lauren, do you regret meeting anybody at a convention?
I don't want to relitigate this, so I'm just gonna say a couple words, and we'll just leave it right there, which is vegan cookbook.
Oh, I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah.
And if I'd known you before that, I could have told you the right way to approach Miss Vegan Cookbook, and you would have had a much better experience.
Well, I never have to worry about that experience again. So
yeah,
I mean, the thing is, do you think like I think these people who whose main business at this point is signing overpriced glossies that they made down at the Kinko's. I think that when they start to have a bad attitude about it, we as fans just need to stop supporting their habit.
Well,
because really, it's not that important. Otherwise, like we will all live if we don't meet that person who doesn't even want to do this anymore.
Yeah. Well, that problem sometimes works itself out because the people who are dicks, word gets round and people stop going to them, and therefore conventions stop booking them. So the problem kind of works itself out. Some of the dicks though are really big names, and people go and meet them regardless. So I mean, that just kind of happens.
Depends on how big of a dick you are.
The other only, I mean, sort of weird bad experience was that Steve Railsback, he was charging $20 an autograph, and I just wanted Helter Skelter signed. I had a couple other things, but I was like, I'm not going to pay $20. And I put Helter Skelter down, and he signed it, and I was talking to a friend, and he signed my other ones.
Oh.
And then wouldn't let me have them back until I paid him the whole $60.
Oh.
Well, you got bad luck, Cameron.
Well, see,
he waited for me to turn around. He signed them all, and then charged.
Here's a continuation of that. When you're having somebody sign a poster, you have to be aware of what they're using to sign your poster with. I have seen celebrities sign their name with a black Sharpie on a black poster, and then be like, "Where's my money?" And then I was with somebody at a convention, and the guy signed black on black, and the guy who I was with was like, "Well, I can't see that." You know what I mean? And the guy was like, "Well, what do you want? You want your money back?" It was like making a big deal out of it, and finally he signed it with another pen so that you could actually see his name. But you've got to be careful with that. I'm serious. You've got to be very careful with that. It's to the point where sometimes I'll bring my own, like, silver Sharpies. You know what I mean? So that like here, or they'll sign it black on black and just expect you to pay, and then get out of their hair. So that's just
BS.
That's something ridiculous. That is something you've got. So when you go to a celebrity table, it's always look at the price, if the price is posted, and then look at what kind of pen they're using. So, and even if they've got different colored pens, they will still try to sign black on black. So don't be afraid to say, "Hey, won't you sign that silver so I can see it later on?" You know what I mean?
Piz, do you ever go to a show and like drop like some business cards down for all your mask making skills and stuff like that?
No, I've dropped cards down and given people cards for, like, the Sausage Factory and for my channel and stuff, but never for like the mask stuff. Yeah.
You could get a table.
I've actually thought about that, like, getting a table and seeing what could happen. Yeah.
Well, because people would want to meet you because they know you on the internet. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. Then I could be like, meeting me ain't free. Where's that money? You know what I mean?
$20.
Yeah,
not $20.
$20.
Felissa Rose is signing down there for $60, so let me sign here.
Yeah.
Well, and Felissa Rose is one I had to kind of get. Well, I shouldn't call anybody out. I shouldn't.
You can't do that.
She was very sweet. She was very, very sweet. But she signed black on black on my Sleepaway Camp poster, and I was like, ugh. And she was like, "Oh gosh, what was I thinking?" And I'm like, "I don't know. What were you thinking? Where's your silver?"
What were you thinking?
She fixed it though. She fixed it, but she was very nice, But I had to point it out to her. Anyway, very, very sweet woman. Very sweet woman. Very sweet woman. She is so sweet.
Does she have photos of you or something that you don't want to get released?
No,
you're going a little overboard with your apology right now.
She really is. She really is.
Circulated in the convention.
She really is a sweet woman. So I mean, I feel bad that I kind of said that about her, but she really is a sweet woman.
I feel like sweet is some kind of code for something.
Hey,
well, Felissa knows what I'm talking about. Felissa.
For those of you who don't know, Piz got the ultimate compliment from Gunnar Hansen, saying that if they ever made a Leatherface type of movie, Piz would be an amazing Leatherface.
He did.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite convention moments.
It's one of my favorite convention moments. It didn't even happen to me.
That was, oh man, that was a good time. That was a good time. Let's see. What else have we got in the chat? Jan Man asked me a really bad question here. I don't even want to say it because I feel like I'm going to be. What?
Do it.
He says, "Hey Piz, how about this question? What would you do and how would it affect you if there was a flood and your entire man cave was washed away or damaged?"
We did a special thing for someone that happened to.
We did. Yeah, Chris. Actually, he was in the chat earlier. Crystal Lake Counselor, 1977. I would not be happy.
Let's rephrase it. Let's say there was an impending type of flood. What would be, let's say, the top 5 things you would rescue from your man cave?
Well, here's the thing, and here's what was scary about Chris telling me about when the flood happened and that destroyed his man cave. It happened so quickly you couldn't grab anything.
Mm.
So you just grabbed family and you got out of there because it happened. So if I remember it correctly, he said, I saw water in the yard. And then before I knew it, water everywhere. And so, I mean, it was just so quick. You don't have a chance to plan. You don't have a chance to grab anything. That's what's scary about it.
So like when people like have babies and they have a suitcase already packed, I think you should already have a suitcase man cave ready to go at all times.
Yeah. I don't know. That's a scary one. I don't know. I mean, that's, I don't even want to think about that. I would be very, very sad. Let's see. What else have we got as far as questions are concerned? Adam, the motion picture history horror fan, he's got another multi-question for us. Favorite giallo, favorite gothic horror, most overlooked slasher, and most underrated zombie movie.
Let's take those one at a time.
Let's take those. Let's take those one at a time. Favorite giallo.
House with Laughing Windows.
Good. It's a good one.
Bay of Blood.
Good one. Good one.
Bird with the crystal image.
Good one. Very good one.
Does Tenebrae count?
I see that. I was thinking Tenebrae myself.
Does it count?
Sure.
Lauren, on the Jello meter, does it count?
Absolutely.
Okay.
If you take Tenebrae, I'll take Deep Red.
Okay. I wasn't sure because Tenebrae could be a slasher too. So
anyway. And I consider it a giallo. Yeah, it's real. Yeah.
Real quick, I got a question.
Sure.
And this is an ignorant question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Define giallo to me, because the way I understand it, it's a lower budget, somewhat sleazy Italian horror movie. And I'm assuming that's maybe slang, like definition for that.
It's like a mystery horror film, usually with like a black gloved killer, right? Usually, no?
There's very specific sort of criteria.
So Lucio Fulci's zombie is not a
that's not a giallo. That's not giallo.
So it's the term.
There's a big misconception out there.
Yeah, it's not a giallo.
People use it to mean anything Italian, and they're just wrong. So the term comes from paperbacks that were popular in the 60s in Italy. They were extremely, they were men's fiction, but they were pretty base novels. They tended to be detective novels that were very sexual and very grotesque. So that as the Italian film industry started to come into prominence, they started seeing films like this exist. And then a couple key titles kind of set a mold. And Bird with Crystal Plumage is a good example. Blood and Black Lace is another. It tended to be murder mysteries, at least vaguely. They tended to focus on the more grotesque aspects or the more sexualized aspects. And, there are works that are right on the edge of whether they really are giallos or not. But in general, if it has horror themes beyond a murder mystery, it becomes harder to really call it a giallo. But
Okay.
like Stendhal syndrome even would be in the genre, in the subgenre, even though it has kind of fantastical elements to it.
Yeah, but they're all in our head.
So
Yeah.
by definition, House by the Cemetery is a giallo movie.
No, I wouldn't fight.
Yeah, I don't.
So this is my this is what I'm trying to figure out. I'm not trying to start an argument. Like, I just want to know, because when I looked it up, I read about the books. So I'm like, what the hell is
the
a giallo?
fantasy aspects would make me think no.
Yeah,
That's why, like, Deep Red by Argento is, and Suspiria is not.
exactly,
Correct.
exactly.
Okay, so
A
a New
Fulci-
York Ripper.
A Fulci, well, New York Ripper, kind of, it's a little bit of both, I would say, slasher and giallo. Don't Torture a Duckling, I would say, is definitely a giallo. I'm trying to think of like another Fulci movie.
Because my answer was gonna be the New York Ripper, but I'm guessing I can't say that.
No, you can say that. You can say that.
Yeah, it would work.
Yeah,
It would work.
It's cool, because that would be mine.
Yeah.
I really wanted to ask that, but I was like, Christian, don't look like an idiot. But I'm like, you know what? Screw that. I want to know what the hell the definition of this word is, because in my realm, you see, I mean, Piz, you see giallo thrown out if it's made in Italy, like it's like these movies, like Piz. I see people like every day call zombie a giallo, and I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, like I'm just confused. I never questioned it or said anybody's wrong, but I'm just like, what the hell is a giallo?
Yeah, Borderline 11 mentions in the chat that one of the really popular horror channels called Gates of Hell a giallo, which it's not a giallo.
So this is good.
And
I think we're clearing something up.
Again, I mean, I don't want to get into the point where we're defining something into too small a corner, because there are works that are somewhat flexible on the term, but it really was a time and a place and a very specific type of cinema. And but again, if you like that stuff, there's a film out right now in limited release called Psycho, not that Psycho, that you really should say, because it really is exactly what we're talking about. It just happens to come from India rather than Italy.
It's funny because I didn't. I mean, I learned about what giallo was from investigating the kills from Bay of Blood that were pretty much lifted for Friday 2, and then I ended up liking the movie. Like it was a beautiful little perfect circle, you know.
I would actually argue that in some ways the original Friday the 13th fits into the mold.
Yeah, I think so too. I absolutely agree. They
Not
are,
so much the
Friday
rest of the
1 and
sequels.
2. Well, I mean, I would, just because of the mystery aspect of 2, because you really don't, you know, it's Jason, but you don't know who Jason is exactly yet, I guess. But yeah, 1 for sure.
Yeah.
And Bay of Blood was very, it sort of crossed over it was giallo and slasher, a little bit of both. That's why it was very influential on movies like Friday the 13th and Friday the 13th Part 2.
So would you say that, I mean, because Laura just brought up the new Psycho, so you can make a giallo today. It's not just a 1970 to 76 type of film, right? It's not it's not like a grindhouse type of thing. You can make an official giallo film today.
I think you could. You'd have to. I mean, it would have to be, stylized a certain way and have to fit, hit all the check marks.
Is Scream a giallo?
No. I'm trying to think what's a recent a slasher from the past 20 years that's giallo-ish.
I would say Mute Witness.
Well, didn't Dario do a movie called Giallo?
I think that's more than 20 years ago at this point, Cam, but I agree.
Crap. Am I that old? 95, yeah.
Yeah. I would say, though, so there's a very satirical take on it called The Editor.
Yeah. Somebody mentioned that in the chat just now.
Yeah. But it's one of those things, like, there's no, again, this is a definition that is born out of critical circles, not necessarily from a filmmaker standpoint. So an official giallo, that it doesn't really mean anything. It's just our way of, if you like this and I want to suggest another film like it to you, we tend to throw this word around. So I would just kind of resist getting too specific about it. The same way we have the conversation, obviously, about what is a slasher and what's not. Because, for instance, the question you brought up a while back was whether you considered Maniac a slasher, which I do because I think it fits enough of the mold.
Well,
but someone else will say no.
No. Listen, I got to tell you, I posted polls on Facebook, Twitter, and on YouTube, and overwhelmingly, people voted that Maniac was a slasher, and I don't think Maniac is a slasher, but I mean, if you do, that's fine. I mean, I put Maniac to me is more of a serial killer movie, like Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer, for instance. But I mean, that's perfectly fine. I have no problem with somebody saying that it's a slasher. I was surprised that it wasn't even close.
It makes me wonder if how many of the people have actually seen the movie or just seen the poster.
Oh man, that is one damn good poster.
Well, you would like to think they'd seen it, but now that you say that, Cameron, it's like, you know what? Jesus Christ!
If you go by the poster,
Yeah.
it's a slasher movie.
Very
I
slasher.
think
I think it's a slasher film, even if you watch it. I will stake my flag in the sand there.
I think it works both ways. I think it works both.
I don't want to see anything so narrowly defined, because I think, listen, slasher fans will enjoy Maniac.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Well, and a lot of us horror fans remember the days in the early 90s when Silence of the Lambs and Seven, which I consider horror films, were called thrillers because that's how they were socially acceptable. Silence of the Lambs to me is a horror film. Seven is a horror film.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the bleakest films I've ever seen. And people go, no, it's not a horror film, it's a thriller. Like, I get it because you think you're above being a horror fan, but Silence of the Lambs, it checks off how many boxes of being a horror film.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
All of them.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
You know.
And you can make an argument for it being a giallo, by the way.
You could. I was going to say that it's got giallo elements in there too. Yeah. So
There you go.
Yeah, you could absolutely. What about? I think. Well, I know what Lauren's favorite gothic horror movie is. Let's move on to. Let's talk about.
What do you think my favorite gothic horror film is?
Well, I was going to say House by the Cemetery.
Well, that's a gore gothic. If he means real gothic.
Okay. You're right. Yeah. I for some reason I was thinking gore gothic.
That's not hard to figure out either. I just was wondering if you had it.
Oh well, I'm. Let's see. No, not. I don't know. I don't know.
Anyone want to guess this?
I think I know the actors who.
You better.
Need to retire for the evening.
Okay, Stone. Have a good one,
Good night,
man.
buddy.
Night, Stone.
Have a good night.
Does this involve Mrs. Barbara Steele?
It definitely does.
Okay.
And, Mario Bava, who made Bay of Blood, so it all comes full circle. Yeah. No one?
Is it Black Sunday or?
It certainly is.
Okay.
That was going to be my guess. Yeah.
I thought it was going to be Ken Russell's Gothic.
I love that movie, but no.
This is an area where I have very little experience. I've dabbled very minimally in this. I don't even have an opinion here.
Yeah, I'd have to go with Black Sunday too, but it's been a long time. Well, not a long time. It's been a few years since I last saw it.
I understand it's a guilty pleasure to a lot of people. It's also a film that a lot of people don't like, but it's one of the few films I still own on 35 millimeter film print. That's right, film.
Wow.
I own 1987's New World Pictures Flowers in the Attic, which I love. I think that score is one of the greatest Gothic scores ever created.
Surprised they've not tried to remake that 10 or 12 times.
They did on A&E or whatever.
Oh yeah. Ooh. Would you call Bram Stoker's Dracula a Gothic movie or no?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I would.
I like that one. I do. I like that. I got that on Laserdisc. I got that on Laserdisc widescreen, and I love it.
I love it too.
There's my answer. I got an answer.
The score is everything in that film.
I love that movie too.
It certainly isn't the Keanu Reeves performance, so that's yes.
Doctor.
the bloody wolves.
I never wanted Jonathan Harker to die more.
I love the fact that he goes from like gray hair to brown hair like every other scene.
Yeah.
What I love about all the different Dracula adaptations is that in some of them Jonathan Harker lives and some of them Jonathan Harker dies. So it's like you never, like, depending on the Dracula adaptation, you're just like flipping a coin as to whether Harker's going to make it or not. You know,
and whether it's Harker or Renfield too. You know.
Oh, that's true.
They swap them.
They swap them. Yep.
And also, Mina and Lucy are always swapped too.
Yep. And some versions will have the other suitors and some won't.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have the American in the film, which is kind of important to the thematics, or not?
It's interesting. What about most overlooked slasher film?
Overlooked.
I'm going to go with Blood Rage.
Mm.
I don't have very deep dives into any of this stuff, but I'll tell you from a broad standpoint, I think The Burning is overlooked.
Oh,
I mean, I think we all look at it as something that's, worthy in the conversation, but I don't think if you look past, circles of more of the enthusiast type.
Didn't Harvey Weinstein write that?
Yeah. I think one wrote it, one produced it. It was the first Miramax film.
Yeah.
It was the first Miramax film.
God,
there's something about those summer camp movies, though. They hit a sweet spot.
Well, in that one, The Burning hits every check mark on what I call all the elements that I can look for in a great slasher movie. Hits them all.
So mine is now getting a release from Scream Factory, and everyone's going to love it this year. But for many, many years, nobody ever talked about April Fool's Day. That was my favorite.
Cool.
I mean, I know, spoiler alert, I know like the trick ending and stuff like that, but I still think that movie has mood, which a lot of today's horror films don't have, and I love it. I love that idea of that isolated house on the island. Mm-hmm. It's great.
It's a really well made slasher movie too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
My favorite is unfortunately one that the title, whether you go with the American or the British title, causes confusion about the movie. In America, it was released as Dead of Night, which is, of course, a very classic British anthology film, which it's not that movie. And in Britain, it was known as Lighthouse, which, of course, now is going to conjure up a different film as well.
Mm-hmm.
It unfortunately, it was released on DVD in a very, very compromised fashion. I saw it in theaters, but the DVD is pixelated and almost unwatchable, and it's never received an updated version, unfortunately. It's a film about a transport prisoner whose ship crashes and is on a small isle with a lighthouse staff. It's a really, really fun, overlooked film.
What's it called?
Well, it depends. It's either called Dead of Night or The Lighthouse.
Okay. So it's available on both releases in like the U.S.? Or what's the definitive release in the U.S.?
There's a really it looks shitty no matter how you go about it. It's called Dead of Night in America, though.
Okay.
But be careful you don't get the British anthology movie, which is a great film as well. So it's not like it would be a bad thing, but it won't be the movie you're looking for.
Another overlooked slasher horror / thriller is a movie that most people have not seen, but I'm sure we all have. Jean Reno's film, The Crimson Rivers. I love that movie.
Yeah, I've seen that. That.
And its sequel, what was that called?
Crimson Rivers 2.
No, it had. Well, at least in the print I saw, it had a different title.
Oh. Yeah, but great horror films that all people should check out. When is Scream Factory going to release Paper House? Hello, we need Paper House on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely, if you have not seen Bernard Rose's first film, Paper House, before he did Candyman, it's amazing.
I agree.
Yeah, I need to see that.
What year did Dead of Night come out?
I'm thinking like 95-ish.
Okay.
I can check.
I'm looking for it here.
Anybody in it, Lauren?
Well, it's a British cast. But...
I know, but you said Dead of Night. The first thing I thought of was like Mary Steenburgen or something.
Oh wow, I'm way off on date. It's 1999.
99.
Wow.
Okay.
You can apparently find the whole movie on Dailymotion.
Okay.
I'm sure it's ripped off of that horrible DVD.
Okay. I'll have to look into it.
Yeah. Google has this listed as a drama slasher, so I could be reaching a little bit, but I always like to bring this movie up when I can. I like Manhunter a lot. I think it does take a little bit of a backseat because of Red Dragon now, and I think Manhunter is, in my opinion, because I like them both, I think Manhunter is the better Red Dragon.
Absolutely.
100%.
So
I
I
agree.
like to bring that. And I like Red Dragon. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, come on. I mean, it's
I
just
really
not as
don't.
good. It's not as good as Silence of the Lambs. It's like the cat's out of the bag. Even though he's still locked up, it's just not as.
No, but
Silence of the Lambs was.
Edward Norton was so miscast.
Absolutely.
And it's funny because I like Edward. I loved him in Primal Fear. Good God, I loved him in Primal
Yes,
Fear.
but William Peterson literally looks like he's gone to hell and back when the movie begins, and Edward Norton walks in like he's like Jodie Foster knew
Exactly. It's
knew-
too Hollywood. It's too big budget. It's too whatever. It's too Hollywood
He's
process.
not Will
Yeah.
Graham.
I think
Manhunter took me by surprise because like, there's no way this is gonna be as good as Red Dragon, and it punched me right in the face. It's like, no, bitch, it's gonna be way better than Red Dragon.
Well, Michael Mann is a filmmaker, and Brett Ratner really is.
yeah, there you
And
go.
I ended up getting the soundtrack on vinyl because I was like, God, I just love everything about this movie. And then it's got my favorite villain in all of movies. What's the guy's name?
Tom Noonan.
Alright.
Tom Noonan. God, he is amazing. He's such an interesting looking human being.
He is, yeah.
So
And
I
I
love
thought,
Manhunter.
I thought who's it? Was it Ray Fiennes who played Dollarhide in Red
Mhm.
Dragon? I thought he was. I mean, really, when I think about that movie, all I remember is him. So I like the Dollarhide character. I think the Dollarhide character is interesting.
But Red Dragon does not have Ngata Vita for the whole ending.
No,
Yeah.
that was Michael Mann right there for sure.
Well, certainly not Thomas Harris at that point. So
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
and the funny thing about it is that the ending of the Red Dragon book that Manhunter discarded was then claimed by Dario Argento for the ending of Opera. He like took the ending of Red Dragon and made it the end of Opera.
The hell with it. Dario don't care.
No.
Let's see. What was the other one? Most underrated zombie movie.
I'll just give you my favorite. It's Return of the Living Dead, but I don't know. What the hell is an underrated zombie film to me? I don't know. If it is, I probably just don't know it. So
It's definitely not underrated. That's like everyone loves that movie.
yeah, I just it's my favorite. It's my favorite movie on the planet. So I'm just like, screw it. I'm gonna say it. So
What's the zombie movie with the little boy, but he's played by a grown man who's like a dwarf? And oh my God, what's that movie called? But he's like, "Mommy, this cloth smells of death." And then like he's literally
Burial Ground.
Burial Ground. Yes. Oh my God. If you've not seen Burial Ground, you owe it to yourself to watch that. It's
Best
bad.
nipple chomping ever.
Yes.
see if it's streaming anywhere.
It's bad, but in such a great way. And the little
I
guy.
love the ending.
Yes, the little guy who plays he's supposed to be a kid, but he's clearly like an adult with some sort of, I don't know, where he looks very young and he's short and he's very thin and he's wearing like mom jeans pulled up under his armpits, and just the dialogue and everything, and the Oedipal relationship between him and his mother is really just weird.
Fucked up.
It looks like this was a foreign-esque type film. I see one
Yes.
American name, and everybody else has
It was
it was
Italian. It was Italian.
Yeah. Mariana Gella Giordano.
Also, what's the one at the
What about
morgue?
Flesh Eater?
What's it at the morgue?
The Living Dead at Manchester Morgue.
Yes, that one's a very good one. I never hear anybody talking about that one either. That one's really good. That's
Well,
actually a really good one.
Anchor Bay released it like 5 times at the very beginning of their company.
Really?
So there was a time when they were very into that movie. 1985 Cemetery of Terror is my answer to this. It's an imperfect film, but it's a lot of fun, and I think if it got a good release now, I think it would grow a fan base.
What about Cemetery Man? I love that movie, and I never
love
hear anybody
Cemetery
talking
Man.
about it. I never hear anybody talk about it. I love that movie.
Yeah. Took me forever to get the DVD of that. It was always out of. This was when I was, I didn't have eBay and stuff, and I have to go to FYE, and they never had it. Cinemasker did a review of it years ago, and he was like, "You got to see this movie. It's crazy just in the first 15 minutes." And I finally got it, and I loved it.
I remember they brought it back on VHS after my best friend's wedding. That Julia Roberts movie that he was in.
What's the guy's name?
Was it Rupert Everett?
Rupert Everett. Yes, you're right.
Yeah, and so Cemetery Man got a re-release on VHS to capitalize off my best friend's wedding. He just slapped his face on the cover, and it started renting out.
Uh-huh.
I I love the film. I think you do have to see Della Morte dell'Amore, the Italian version, which is a little bit longer and has some. It's not that it's missing scenes; it's just edited differently. So I recommend going with that rather than Cemetery Man. And I also recommend that you realize that there's a lot more going on in the film, and that it makes sense. A lot of people, unfortunately, say that the film is just kind of like, oh, it's just dreamlike and it has dream logic. That's not what's going on in the movie. It is really an art film that pretends it's a horror movie, which is kind of the great thing about it.
And Michele Soavi really never. I mean, Stage Fright is good, but I mean, he Cemetery Man. I thought this guy's a brilliant filmmaker, and he's not really done much beyond that.
He's done a lot of Italian television.
Yeah.
And he made that Dario Argento World of Horror documentary.
Yeah.
Which is awesome, by the way.
Yeah.
For about an hour. Sure.
But
yeah.
I think the last 10 minutes
it.
run out of steam. Once they start getting into the Karl Malden stuff, it's like,
Well, let's see what's going on here. We've been Oh my God, we've been streaming for 3.5 hours. My goodness gracious. Wait. Gracious.
One thing, McNugget didn't get to answer any of this.
Oh, I answered all of them but the last one, but I really don't have a good one for this unless we want to talk about like The Walking Deceased. I just saw it on Google. It's a picture of a movie that's called The Walking Deceased instead of Dead. So it has to be good and underrated. I really don't have a good... I feel like there's so much zombie stuff out there that it's either like exceptionally good or exceptionally bad because it's trying to rip off the exceptionally good. So it's hard for me to come up with one that's underrated. I don't know.
My Boyfriend's Back.
You know what? That's not a bad point. That's an alright movie.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen that one. That brought back memories.
It's funny because you could even talk about. Well, I mean, that's the thing though. What's really underrated is the problem. That's the problem I'm running into with this question. So,
what is Film Twitter not talking about?
I agree, Dave. I think Killer Party does need a Blu-ray release. I do like me some Killer Party.
We better get it soon. We're going to run out of time for this stuff. All these movies need to get out now.
Yep, they do.
So start screaming on Twitter to the companies, whether it's Severin or Vinegar Syndrome or whoever you think might have a chance of releasing them.
The Region B Steelbook of the Burning, is that a good version of that movie? Yeah, it is good, Joe. I think it's more or less the same transfer that was on the Scream Factory. There's one interview that's on the Arrow that's not on the Scream Factory, though. I don't remember who that interview was with. Maybe the editor or something? I don't recall. But the Steelbook is really, it's a really cool release. Let's go ahead and call it a night, guys. We've been going 3.5 hours. We've still got some questions here that we did not cover, but it's, we may have to do a follow-up Q&A a little bit later in the season. But we had some really great questions from you guys out there. Apology that we didn't get around to answering all of them, but hopefully we answered enough. Ask Piz about his alt-right hate symbol. No, let's not do that.
Somebody accused you of that?
Well, no, it's a tweet that I was sharing around I saw. It's just crazy people. Just crazy people.
Hey, look at there. I was wondering when that was going to come up.
Always.
I'm not as bad. I'm not as bad as I make myself look on Twitter. I'm really not. I promise. I just want movies to be a fun experience at any cost, and I agree with the fact for you guys that it's not as easy for it to be as fun anymore. So I'm not trying to be a jerk all the time. I promise.
Listen, I think we're on the same page, to be completely honest. The truth is, there's too much distraction now.
Yeah. Well, social media is it's a disease. We are more connected and more further apart than we've ever been as a group of people.
Well, and you know, Andrew, I brought you on here just to attack you. And
I feel attacked.
but then I decided not to. So, but no, I wouldn't have asked you to come on if I didn't like you. So,
Well, you find it interesting that when you're face to face with somebody, you know, I don't think it's that you're just not as brave. I think it's just you see more alikeness than you do differences when you're listening to somebody talk in person and going back and forth.
I wasn't really going to attack you. I was just joking.
Yes, he was.
I mean, that would have been a completely different show, I feel, but it could have had some good popcorn, you know, value.
Yeah.
Steak Sauce does not like when we confront each other. He lets me know.
Oh, okay.
Steak Sauce
He's
wants
not
everything. He wants everything to be nice and everybody to be happy. And so
He doesn't
I
like
do appreciate it.
well, let me give some shout outs here to everybody who's still with us after this mega epic stream. Jess Graham, Roland666, who wants to remind us that he is still high. My buddy Jeff Overing, Matt M, Josferatu, nice name. That's a cool name. Mukade, Steak Sauce, who's still in the chat. My buddy Dave Vanderhoff, Borderline 11. Jess Graham, who says that children shouldn't play with dead things, is underrated. My buddy Jan Man, Stephen LaPierre, E Boogie, Marbsy, Horrid Films. So yeah, we had a really lively, fun chat tonight. Thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate it. The White Trash Jedi is still here. DJ Donnelly's still here. Thanks for hanging out, guys. We appreciate it. And thanks for everybody here on the panel who stuck it out for the whole time, and for everybody who had to bounce, Raiho and Jay the Stingray and Stone. But we will return. We will return next week. So we will see you next week right here on the Sausage Factory YouTube channel. Thanks again for tuning in. Have a great week, and until next time, peace.